Hello. I'm still ill. Anybody here? I've had like a few bad starts, but it's okay. YouTube. Boom. We go to here. Then we go to here. What do you mean? Hmm. Hello, Chazardes. Uh, it's 8 p.m. It's 8 p.m. So it's hardly a start. It's true. And we are going to have fun. We are going to We're going to watch a debate. Destiny debate. Excited? Are you excited? Hmm? Boa tarde, amiga. Boa tarde. What was fast? Well, what was fast? You mean the chat? Yeah, the chat will be faster today. So how are you? How are you all? We're watching Destiny's debate today. Everybody's watched it already, except for me. We've kept the best for last. Okay, ready? Are you ready? Is everybody ready? Is everybody who is here ready? How many of you are here? Coconut Citizen, you're white. Ah, good afternoon. Okay, so I will boom, boom. Gonna watch the debate. Are you excited? I'll fix the whiteness. Oh my goodness. React. Do it!
What war
was effective, Dylan Burns? How old are you? That's a progressive congressional candidate? That's so depressing. Those are congressional candidates? Tier 4, oh my god, thank you. Oh my god. Thank you. The bar has been very deep for Congress. Jesus. Okay, Destiny versus Alex Johannes. Are you ready? I am. This is it. Destiny. It's 3 hours. It's 3 hours. Strap yourselves in, because it's 3 hours. We're gonna be playing games while doing this, aren't we? Oh my god. 3 hours. That's gonna be the whole stream, isn't it? Oh my god.
Off immediately if he thought it didn't make him look good.
It was happening while he was giving a speech.
Wrong.
What crisp sound.
The reason why
Wrong.
he didn't call them off is because him, Giuliani, and Eastman were making phone calls to other senators and congressmen asking them to decertify the electoral vote.
No.
You were there, but you weren't. Do you acknowledge that happened, or do you not acknowledge it?
We're talking about the crowd.
I don't care about the crowd. I'm saying that as the riot was raging on and he was sitting there sipping his Diet Coke, if this really made
How do you know he drinks Diet Coke?
him and his followers look bad, why didn't Donald Trump make a video immediately?
I'm about to do it because I can talk over you really easy.
That's what you've been doing the whole time.
No, you're doing it.
I look forward to you dodging the question again. Go ahead.
You're doing it. You're doing it.
No, you.
So, you.
No, you. Love it. Already love this debate. No, you. No, you.
No, you.
You.
No, you.
You.
Both of you.
Keep doing it.
Damn. It's like I'm back in kindergarten again. U.S. politics. As he came back from 2013. No, you. Damn.
Jump into it. I want to introduce our panel of incredible people, as I said earlier, and I'm going to start from the end and give you guys a chance to introduce yourselves. We have Ed Krasenstein.
Yeah, how's it going? I'm Ed Krasenstein.
Is that the moderator? I have a bad feeling about this. That's the moderator? Oh boy. Oh boy.
Know me on X at Ed Krasen, also the twin brother of Brian.
Thanks for pointing out that it's Krasenstein, not Krasenstein.
Well, it can actually be either. You can do Krasenstein or Krasenstein, and I really don't care what you use. So
It's Frankenstein, not Stein.
not Frankenstein. But
Let's. That was Alex Jones, if you didn't know. We also have Brian Krasenstein.
Hey, Ian, it's great to be here. I'm Brian Krasenstein, known as Krasenstein on X. Ed's slightly better looking and more intelligent twin brother.
And modest as well. Probably the most modest of the Krasensteins. Next to Brian, we have Stephen Bonnell, known as Destiny. What's happening, man?
Hey, what's up? You know me on YouTube at Destiny. My real life name is Steven, and I scream and shout at people on the internet for a living.
Next to this dude, we got Alex Jones. Alex, explain yourself.
Oh my god.
Well, I don't think I probably needed much of an introduction, but I mean, I was there on January 6th, and I saw what happened. And so it's a very important discussion we're about to have tonight. I'm glad everybody came.
Oh my god, is that person okay? He sounds like he's about to die. I don't know. He sounds like he's like, I don't know, his voice is like he's about to collapse.
We need to have more of this, not just left and right, but just different groups of people debating and discussing. I'm really glad that Zero Hedge and their great subscription service, people supporting it, is financing this. And so you're going to see a lot more of this with people supporting Zero Hedge. And so I'm just honored to be here with you guys in Austin, Texas.
Yeah, absolutely. Shout out to Zero Hedge. Great company. Great people, too. Really great people involved with the company. And to your left, my right, Darren Beatty. What's happening, man?
Great to be here. Thank you. I'm Darren Beatty. I run a news site called Revolver.news, which is reported extensively on January 6th. And you can also see me on X at Darren J. Beatty.
And you're a Trump advisor and speechwriter.
X.
Yes.
And a former professor. And you help quarterback a lot of...
Former professor, can you lose your professor? Sure? How can you be a former professor? For once you're a professor, you're just a professor for life. Are you a former professor?
the groundbreaking stuff that Tucker Carlson put up.
Indeed.
So I'll sing your praises since you...
Thank you.
And we also have coming in remote live, Glenn Greenwald from your studio in Brazil. What's happening, Glenn?
Hey everybody, Glenn Greenwald. I'm a journalist. I'm the host of System Update on Rumble. I had planned to be there in person. A little logistical problems intervened, and I wish I could be, but I'm really looking forward to participating. And I just want to echo Alex. I think what Zero Hedge is doing is so important, organizing these kind of substantive structured debates among people who obviously disagree pretty strongly on things, and yet nonetheless can have what I hope will be a civil and spirited debate, what I expect it will be. So I'm really looking forward to it, and I appreciate being asked.
Yes, that is my job, is to make sure that it maintains civility, structure, organization.
That's the mod. Oh my god, that's the mod. We'll see how it goes, but I'm skeptical. I'm worried about the moderation of this.
And that we don't talk over
I have a feeling they're just gonna trample all over him.
each other, that we end up listening to each other. The real value of humanity, one of the most powerful tools we have, is communication. So I think tonight's going to be an exemplary example of that.
I don't think so. I've heard that it's not an exemplary example, but we'll see. Yes, we're gonna find out.
Let's go for this. The first question I got for you guys, and this is really for the entire panel, and anyone that wants to start it off, maybe we can start with you, Ed, since just because you're on the end and we can move around, is January 6, 2021. Was it an insurrection? And before you answer, I want to read this. This is actually what it's called 18 U.S. Code 2383, rebellion or insurrection.
Yeah, let me do an overhead shot. This is right out of Cornell Law here.
Excellent. All right, I'm going to start reading this. This is according to the U.S. Code. Whoever incites, sets on foot, assists, or engages in any rebellion or insurrection against the authority of the United States or the laws thereof, or gives aid or comfort thereto, shall be fined under this title or imprisoned not more than 10 years, or both, and shall be incapable of holding any office under the United States. It technically doesn't define insurrection. It's the code talking about what an insurrection is. Of course, they use the word insurrection in the actual code itself. But what do you think? Do you guys?
So it does talk about, it does talk about insurrection. What? What do you mean it doesn't talk about insurrection if it defines it?
I think it was an insurrection. Is of course they use the word the code talking about the United States. It technically doesn't define insurrection. It's the code talking about what an insurrection is. Of course they use the.
It doesn't define an insurrection. It just talks about what it is. So it defines it. What?
The word insurrection in the actual code itself. But what do you think? Do you guys think it was an insurrection?
So I personally believe it was an insurrection. And I base that on the fact that 20 court decisions called it an insurrection. And the fact that there was a bill passed in the Senate that called them a mob of insurrectionists. I think the bill passed, or it was in the House of Representatives, 406 to 21. That was a statute to award the police officers medals. And it referred to these individuals as insurrectionists. So, I mean,
Damn.
I think that
Pretty lame insurrectionists. He makes sure they don't cheat.
term can be subjective. I think, people can say nobody was charged with violating Section 2383 of Title 18, which is insurrection and rebellion statute. And nobody was, right? But I don't think that defines
taking notes.
whether the event was an insurrection. When I say insurrection, I don't mean everybody there was partaking in insurrection. There were people who were peaceful. The people who walked into the Capitol and did nothing, I don't think that they were insurrectionists. I think they violated the law.
What were they? They were trespassers.
But I don't think they were partaking in insurrection. I do think the Proud Boys were partaking in insurrection. I think you could say Donald Trump incited the insurrection. I do.
Destiny, what do you think, man?
I would say the plot from start to finish is quite obviously an insurrection. The only way to get around that is to either justify an insurrection, which is what most conservatives do, they don't realize it, or to deny that an insurrection could ever happen, or if you're not aware of all the facts of what happened. I think that Donald Trump and his cronies had a
Hello, Waterworks.
very coherent plan that they tried to enact from start to finish, starting with false claims of voter fraud, leading to false slates of electors that filed themselves as state electors under perjury, which is what they did, up to the violence that happened on the day of the certification of the vote, where Donald Trump and his friends continued to try to delay the peaceful transfer of power by contravening the certification of the Electoral College vote.
And what I want to make sure that we don't force this into like what they want to call a debate where you got to be called on or anything. So if any of you guys, Glenn, you as well, man, if any of you guys want to jump in.
Yeah, two of them just went. I want Glenn to go, but I just want to say something here. I was there. And I was
there. I made it happen.
Investigated and subpoenaed by the Justice Department in at least 5 criminal investigations, and I was forced to testify in front of the Jan 6 committee, which they've now been destroying their records.
I cannot listen to his voice. He sounds like he's about to, I don't know, fall over and croak.
Because the records show the opposite of what they said. Trump and all of us had a stage rented by the Supreme Court. He was supposed to have another rally there. We showed up. Before Trump ever finished his speech, people were getting tear gas and hit by bullets, and there were a bunch of provocateurs leading and attacking against the police, and they broke through. And then this 1 million+ people then got blamed as insurrectionists, and Biden gave a big speech yesterday saying they're all terrorists. So by that extension, Kamala Harris is the VP candidate.
Exactly. Antifa did the January 6th.
Was bailing people out of jail that burned down police stations and firebombed federal buildings. And the idea of Biden's speech yesterday, making his whole campaign about January 6th, saying political violence is never good. The Democrats are the ones that called for political violence. So I was there with a bullhorn. I could only reach 100 yards out when the tear gas was hitting me, saying, don't go in, don't fight the police. This is a setup. And we have hundreds of videos.
Exactly, it's a setup. Alex being there is a solid notch in the war insurrection column.
videos. And so regardless of what the left tries to do, they're all out there of people taking off their...
I should have been there on the January 6th to sort of, I don't know. You have to give me more donations so I can go and be at these events. Hello, Jacob the Great.
Antifa stuff and putting on the Trump garb and the police fake arresting people, attacking them and then high-fiving them. I mean, this has all come out in the new footage, and it's all getting...
Wait, fake arresting them? How were they fake
They would grab them...
Fake arresting them. The police was fake arresting people and high-fiving them.
Arrest them and then drag them in and then high-five them, take the handcuffs off and high-five them. Those videos, what people are going to take everything I say, they're going to put it on X and show what I said. That's where we dominate.
Yeah,
and so what I'm getting at here, let me tell you this. What I'm getting at here is...
We're going to dominate. Oh my God, conspiracy theory already, so fast, so quick to conspiracy monger.
They now admit hundreds of federal officers were there. So when Trump started his speech, this whole thing began with Ray Epps saying, go into the Capitol. He told the Jan 6 committee, yeah, it's true, it's in his text messages. He told family, I orchestrated it. So under pressure, they finally indicted him, but only recommended 6 months. So a few hundred people got manipulated into fighting the police. They were led and driven by provocateurs.
Manipulated. Poor babies got manipulated into fighting the police. You're under fake arrest. True. High five. Oh my God. Of course. High five. My man.
And other groups. They were others, then they opened the doors and the police wave them in hundreds of videos. They walk between the velvet ropes and then they indict over 1,000 people that just walked through velvet ropes. And then now we're told in the National Security Directive of President Biden, the #1 threat is the American people. And he had a declaration of war yesterday.
What? The #1 threat is the American people? The Gish galloping from Alex Jones is just too much. He deploys 10 different arguments within a span of 30 seconds and he just can't keep up with his lies. No, it's all true.
Against all Trump supporters and says to protect democracy, we're not going to let you vote for Trump. So as Stalin said, I care not who casts the votes, I care who counts them. Well, Biden doesn't care who casts the votes. He cares who's allowed on the ballot. So we've already won. No one's buying this. And when this happened 3 years ago, the Wall Street Journal had to print a retraction, but they said I was there as a coward telling people to attack. Well, no, they wouldn't let me put the video on Twitter where I was saying don't go in. But the truth is it's coming out. And so that's the bottom line here. And this attempt by Biden to cast the American people as the enemy in all these movies about martial law and civil
Girl, why do you ask? Also, Lucy is a girl. And also, thank you. Also, didn't realize that all of the American people took part in January 6th. Lucy's a girl. A cute girl.
Civil war and race war. That's their only hope because the corrupt, evil Democratic Party and its evil twin, the Republicans, they've lost power and populism is rising. Quite frankly, this was not an insurrection. It was an insurrection, there would have been guns. And it's in the Declaration of Independence that it's our right and duty to get rid of a government that's destructive of what the people want. But I'm not calling for violence. We're winning this politically, but we're being cast as about to be violent in the next 10 months because all these indictments and all these attacks to not let Americans vote for who they want aren't working and are backfiring. And all the big Democrat lawyers now admit it. Axelrod admits it.
How long will he be able, how long is he allowed to speak? He spoke more than all the others combined and then some. How long is he gonna speak? How long is he gonna talk? God.
Carville admits it. They all admit this attempt like we're in Venezuela or something, to take Trump off the ballot when he's never been convicted of insurrection. This is a military tribunal, U.S. code from the Civil War. If a military tribunal found you were guilty of being involved in insurrection, that meant after the war ended.
Can I ask you a question?
Run for office.
Alex.
What do you mean you never knew I were a girl? You met me yesterday. I like his energy, no doubt about that. I do wonder if he's on something, but I'm not certain.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
So, do you think the Confederates during the Civil War were partaking in insurrection?
I mean, in retrospect, because I wasn't alive then, I think the South got manipulated into that. I thought there was really...
Oh my... What? The South got manipulated? The South got manipulated? Okay, sure.
Issues between the North and South. The abolitionists, had a good point, and slavery needed to end. But it was really about the North.
So just to be clear, the person that's defending the J6 riders won't say that the Confederate states were engaged in insurrection.
No, that's not what I see. Here's what happens.
Yes or no?
No, hold on. That's not true.
That's what it sounded like you said. Well, you can correct the record. So do you think they were engaged in insurrection?
I was trying to talk.
Oh my God.
And the thing I said was, I think the South was wrong, and then you just...
This video is 3 hours. We're in the 12th minute. We're just getting started.
You just said that I support what the South did. No.
I didn't say you supported that. I said that you said that they weren't engaged in insurrection. Do you think the Confederate states were engaged in insurrection?
Was that...
Oh my God. The weird misinterpreting. It's not 9 hours, it's 3 hours. Oh my God. You would have to really, really donate a lot for me to do a 100-hour stream, okay? We need to donate so much. I can do it. I can do a 100-hour stream, but you'll have to donate so much that it's gonna be just wild.
Because there were rebellions during Reconstruction at the end of the Civil War, and they were saying if you lead an uprising against the northern occupation of the South, you're precluded from running from office because they were worried about Southerners getting office again, like Jefferson. No, I do not support the Civil War or slavery, and I'm not a, quote, Confederate,
okay, but
and
was
we're not
it an
really fighting that. That's not what I said.
My question.
I didn't get my Switch because I don't have the money. Also, there's... Oh, that's so... They're twisting their own questions so much.
Question is, was it an insurrection? Yes or no?
Yes, if you were... No. The law, yes, I think that it was a civil war, and you could say an insurrection.
Okay, so is it insurrection? Did anybody get charged with insurrection rebellion?
What I'm saying is...
With violating statute. Did anybody get charged?
Listening.
No, I'm asking you. You just said it was insurrection. Did anybody get charged with violating the insurrection and rebellion statute?
Yes, people did. You have
no, because there was no statute there. That's my point.
No, if
you don't need to. You don't need to violate that statute in order to be partaking in insurrection, because the Civil War was an insurrection, and nobody got charged with violating that. No, that's what I'm saying. That's my point, Alex. You're changing the subject because you know it's correct.
Even the Democratic Party lawyers on CNN say you have to be convicted under the 14th Amendment of this before you can be. You can't just...
You don't get convicted under the 14th Amendment. You get convicted under Section 2383 of Title 18.
Well, let's slow down a little. Let's slow down a little.
A congressional resolution.
The mod is already out of his debt.
To give awards to Capitol Police is not a conviction of Donald Trump to remove him from the ballot. He's been indicted for saying they stole an election. So now they want to take him off the ballot so you can't vote for him, which is pure stealing of an election.
I think
this is not, he's the Yankee. He's not somebody in Georgia.
He's the Yankee Tanky.
He's not Robert E. Lee. This has nothing to do with
I know,
it.
but
also, as a quick fact check, on the 14th Amendment, it doesn't require a conviction under Section 3. You can literally put it on the text on the screen. There's it does not say needs to be convicted.
I guess we need to define the difference. Alex, one second. We need to define the difference between the casual term insurrection and the legal definition of insurrection.
Yes.
Well, there's another thing we need to talk about. So, yes, there's the casual term. There's the etymology of the term insurrection, which simply suggests a rising up. So by that definition, that could encompass a wide range of things.
Black Lives Matter.
Wait. So there's
Black Lives Matter.
There's a rising up. Then there's the legal definition, but we have politically weaponized court system.
Imagine, say, the Confederates were manipulated into fighting the North in the Civil War. Beyond bunkers coming from Alex. True. Oh my God. But that's what we're here for tonight. To hear things like this. This is wild. By the way, you're right, Jacob.
So that's not even, I think, a proper standard. I think the proper standard is the sweep of a proper historical perspective. Does the event of January 6th compare to the antecedent that we've been discussing, the Civil War? So if the question is, is Civil War an insurrection? My question is the scope and scale of the event of January 6th comparable to the Civil War? Because Joe Biden has directly made this comparison, which I think is flatly ridiculous. And that comparison has to be valid in order for these ridiculous Section 3 arguments to have any force or legitimacy. And I think any common sense...
It's a lie. I'm going to shut up. It's a lie on its face. They say it's bigger than Pearl Harbor and 9/11. That is bull.
Okay, so here, let me finish what my point is.
Yeah, do that, and then I want to go to Glenn for a second.
So my point is that two things. The Civil War was an insurrection. I think it's hard to argue that. Nobody got charged with a crime of violating the Insurrection and Rebellion Statute, 2383. What about 1992, the LA riots? George Herbert Walker Bush, he invoked the Insurrection Act. 12,000 people were arrested. 63 people were killed. Hundreds were injured. Was that an insurrection? What do you guys think?
Yeah, no, it's a declaration of federal martial law.
But was it an insurrection? Because nobody there was charged with violating. Nobody there was charged with violating Section 2383, the Insurrection and Rebellion Statute. But we still consider that an insurrection.
I mean, by that yardstick, Kamala Harris bailing out people that firebomb federal buildings.
That is
Glenn,
not true.
Glenn, talk to me. You have something to say.
Yeah, I actually think what Destiny and what Ed are saying are very important. First of all, I was going to say that I think one of the problems with how these things are debated,
U.S. politics are so wild,
is that a lot of people these days have very binary prisms for understanding things. A lot of that comes from YouTube debate where you have to declare yourself on one side or the other. So Destiny said, everybody either hates this insurrection, thinks it's an insurrection, or they deny it happens, or they think it's good. And there's so much middle ground.
Destiny already said he never said that anybody who doesn't call it an insurrection thinks it's good. That point has already been made, and Destiny said he didn't say it.
Namely that, for me, this was a political protest that spilled over into a riot where a small minority of the people engaged in violence. I don't think we want to urge that to happen. We don't want to defend that. I consider that lamentable. But the fact that it's laughable to call this an insurrection is actually demonstrated by the examples that they're using. This was a 3-hour riot that was extremely easily subdued. It doesn't remotely compare to any prior insurrections, let alone...
I don't know. It was considered a pretty intense moment in the media all over the world, so...
To the Civil War, the only people who were killed on January 6th were 4 people, all 4 of whom were Trump supporters, 2 of whom dropped dead of a heart attack and 1 from a speed overdose, because these were not exactly a well-trained militia. And when Jack Smith went to charge Donald Trump with multiple crimes, he had a lot of options to charge him with, and he charged him with a lot of crimes, including very dubious ones. He did not charge him with inciting an insurrection for reasons that I think we ought to ask ourselves why. But the fact that this is such a minor event in history is demonstrated by the fact that the media who needed
I'm not sure if it's such a minor event, but
this to be a major event immediately started lying about what happened, saying that Brian Sicknick was murdered when he had his head bashed in through a fire with a fire extinguisher, only to learn that actually he called his mother that night. He was fine. He died the next day of what the coroner said were natural causes, because the media knew that if you can't say that even one person supposedly perpetrating the insurrection killed anybody, pulled out a gun, let alone discharged the weapon, all of which is true, it's a joke to call this an insurrection. At best, it's a riot. And that's the reason why Trump hasn't been charged with an insurrection. The only time he ever commented on January 6th about whether he thought there should be violence or not was when he said the following. He said, I know that everyone here will soon be marching over to the Capitol building to peacefully and patriotically make your voices heard. He urged them to be peaceful in how they went there. To the extent there was violence, I think you can make the argument that the FBI informants that even the New York Times admits were there were the ones that urged it. But even if the people who were there were the ones responsible, at best this is a riot. You could so easily make the case that the 2020 riots were a far greater insurrectionary threat than anything that happened on January 6th.
That's perfectly said. I would ask I would ask the left over here. I know Ian's asked the questions. I mean, I don't know. Did you guys see?
Damn. What about all the people that were like interrogated and whatever?
Biden's speech. I mean, it was an hour long that no one there was good. They were all there. Over a million people. I was there. And then we marched down there to have another rally, and then I see this terrible thing happening. It was medieval, and then Biden saying they're all
what?
All bad. This terrible thing happening. It was medieval, and then
hell on earth.
And then Biden saying they're all bad, and we can't let you vote for Trump. I mean, I mean, come on, man.
We have a clip from Biden's speech I want to play, and then let's get back to you, Destiny. You had something to say, but if you guys have this, it's clip number 4, Biden's speech. This is from yesterday's. It's only 50 seconds, but let's load this up. Not sure what
Trump's mob wasn't a peaceful protest. It was a violent assault. They were insurrectionists, not patriots. They weren't there to uphold the Constitution. They were there to destroy the Constitution. Trump won't do what an American president must do. He refuses to denounce political violence. So hear me clearly.
Get him, Biden.
I'll say what Donald Trump won't. Political violence is never, ever acceptable in the United States political system. Never, never, never.
Unless you're the Democrats.
It has no place in a democracy. None. You can't be pro-insurrectionist and pro-American. You know, Trump and his MAGA supporters not only embrace political violence, but they laugh about it.
The insurrection is the open border.
So the insurrection was not just the 3-hour riot that happened at the White House afterward.
So the open border.
Supporters not only embrace political violence.
The insurrection is the open border.
But they laugh about it.
The insurrection is the open border.
Jesus. The border thing.
So the insurrection was not just the 3-hour riot that happened at the White House afterwards. I think that's the least charitable reading of everything that happened. And that's not, if you read any of the charges that either Jack Smith or the Georgia RICO case has alleged against Trump, are saying that, in fact, not much of the focus is on the 3-hour riot at all. Not much of that.
Hold on, Alex. Let Stephen finish his thought first.
So not much of those indictments are actually focused.
Wish Vaush would debate them. I'm not sure if Vaush would be... Would Vaush be, like... invited into something like this? Would Vaush be invited here?
Focusing on the 3-hour riot itself. The unprecedented act that there is no answer for, that Kamala Harris or Joe Biden or Hillary Clinton have not engaged in, is using knowingly false election claims for months to try to pressure state electors to change their vote. And then when they wouldn't do that, beg them to elect different electors. And then when they wouldn't do that, create a plot to create fake electors. And then when Pence wouldn't accept that, try to capitalize on that final 3-hour riot at the Capitol building to also make phone calls and tell people to decertify their vote or to switch their electors.
JFK and Obama had alternate electors.
Damn, they cannot listen. They cannot wait. They cannot take turns, and the moderator is helpless. Vaush wouldn't be invited to this. He'd wreck them.
No, they didn't. No, they
story
didn't.
was completely
No, they
different.
didn't.
I can explain that if you want.
Yeah, please do.
Okay. Right.
Yeah. So in 1960.
1960.
So in 1960, JFK and Nixon, there was a dispute because there was a recount. I think JFK ended up winning by like 150 votes. At the time, each state decided, or the state decided to certify two sets of
They didn't
electors.
certify
Or
them.
decided to.
Back? Thank you, we're back. The audio's back, thank you. You did crash the audio. Thank you for the tier 2 subscription, fake Alec Hall Parker. Thank you, thank you. We can now continue with the reaction. I don't know why this is happening. I think the donos are too powerful. I don't know. But it's okay. The audio was so loud. It's okay. Destroy everything. Yeah, it was a audio insurrection. Get it? Excuse me.
Choose two different slates of electors.
Depending on how it went.
But they were certified
They were in
by
the
the
middle of a
states.
recount. They were in the middle of a
Well,
recount.
Trump tried to get a
He
certificate.
wouldn't be invited. No way he'd ever call the insurrection a riot. Destiny, on the other hand, is perfectly okay calling the insurrection a riot comparable to the BLM protests. How the insurrection? True. True.
None was certified yet. Neither slate was.
What
certified.
happened with Trump was that Trump tried to get the states to certify a second slate of electors based off of conspiracy theory crap
Nonsense.
that
None of the
the election was
courts would hear
stolen.
his
Hold on.
They did.
He took it to
No,
court.
they didn't. They
62
refused to issue the
cases.
courts.
That's not
30
true.
cases were looked at on merit.
So are they
They were
taking
all
him off
shut
the
down.
ballot now?
That's a separate.
Well, that's a separate-
Take him off the ballot is a
they're not
separate
taking
thing.
him off.
Moderator. Everybody speaking at once. I cannot hear anybody. Moderator. And we're just in the 23rd minute on the 3-hour debate. God. This is going to be something else.
Okay, so
Is the not purest form of election theft is taking someone off the ballot?
Alex,
Let's get back to the 1960s really
Oh.
fast. So what
Purest
happened was
form.
that they did a recount, and Kennedy ended up winning by, I think, 150 votes, and they chose the Kennedy electors. They certified the Kennedy electors, and Kennedy ended up winning that state.
And that's what Trump said.
What
He's
Trump
already-
did, what Trump did was Trump tried to get the states to certify an alternate slate of electors. They refused because the court said there's no there there. And then when that didn't go through, Trump decided to get his own slate of electors above the states that were not certified and tried to use that to force Mike Pence to say that Joe Biden didn't win these electoral votes.
I just need to interject really quickly. So if we want to be precise in terms of the scope of the debate, I think it's about January 6th. And so the lead up to it might be relevant to some of the criminal indictments, but it's technically speaking outside the scope of the January 6th discussion.
Now, is
but
this worse
if
than
we're
Pearl
gonna
Harbor?
if we're gonna bring it into
I think the build-up is pretty important. I personally think the build-up is pretty important, but, you know, what do I know? I'm not American. I'm not from the US. I'm just Polish. What do I know? I guess.
the discussion, I think there's an operative word there, knowingly. And that's operative within the context of the charging documents. But the idea that Trump thought that he lost the election, and he was knowingly lying and knowingly engaging. No, he believes, I guarantee it, whether you believe it or not, Trump believes that the election was stolen, and he was using the legal recourses available to him at the advice of his legal advisors.
So to be clear, that is not true. Most of his legal advisors said that this idea was crazy.
Well, no, but he had legal advisors.
Again, moderator, help. Trump lost and he tried to stay in power via external methods. When the legal methods failed flat, I don't understand any other way to see it. I mean, you're being explained other ways to see it. Right? What don't you understand?
If you search hard enough, you can find anybody to validate an opinion. But what you've just done is what I opened with, which is saying he thought the election was stolen, therefore he was justified to engage in insurrection.
But is it right to take him off the ballot? Since you don't want to debate January 6th,
we're not. That's for the Supreme Court to decide. That's for the Supreme Court to decide.
I'm asking you a question.
I'm telling you, that's for the Supreme Court to decide. According to Section 3 of the 14th Amendment, it's
why does the United States sanction countries that take people off the ballot?
What? That's not even remotely relevant here.
Oh, okay, all right. So
you know what the United States usually.
Wait, here we have
independence. If we do
moderator.
Insurrection, you know it.
It would probably be for things like circumventing the vote, like asking the vice president, for instance, to unilaterally win the election.
So
that would be something that we might sanction another country for.
You can't vote for somebody because they make up a bunch of stuff and he's not found guilty anywhere, but you guys just parrot it over again like two men.
If you don't like the Constitution, that's your fault, Alex. If you don't like the Constitution, that's on you. Really? Then why are you saying that Section 3 of Amendment...
Jesus, now they're just yelling at one another. Moderator checking phone. Oh boy. Alex, don't you like the Constitution? Are you not a constitutionalist originalist?
14 requires a conviction. Alex, why did you say that Section 3 of Amendment 14 requires a conviction? Can we put the text on stream?
I would love to do that, actually.
Put the text up.
And Glenn,
because you keep saying...
All right, guys.
Military tribunals.
I don't care what it's based on.
They would have to find you guilty.
Let's.
That's why no one was.
Put up Amendment 14.
Let's hear from Glenn.
We'll slow down. This is a great conversation. Glenn's about to drop some knowledge.
It doesn't sound like a great conversation to me, but, you know, maybe we have different standards of what a great conversation is. I love it how no matter what shit show happens, there's always somebody saying this is a great conversation. I think I could beat Alex Jones in a fight. He looks barely alive. So maybe you could.
Yeah.
You're just talking a lot.
Glenn's in remote from Brazil. So Glenn, anytime you have something to say, it's helpful for me if I see a visual cue. Maybe your hand goes up. I can tell you have something you're going to say now. But let us know.
Let me just say, what happens is when you gather together to debate a particular question, you're supposed to debate that particular question. The particular question that we were presented with is we're going to debate January 6th and whether it was an insurrection. Now, I don't blame Destiny and Ed for not wanting to debate that, for wanting to debate a whole set of other issues about whether...
What do you mean, what side? It's all connected. I don't blame Destiny on not wanting to, you know, debating the lead up, the most important thing as to why the thing even happened. I don't blame Destiny for that. What? Glenn and the guy on the right seem embarrassed to be on the same team with Alex for this debate. I can feel it. Maybe.
Trump acted improperly.
This is so weird. It's part of the topic. No? Am I mistaken to think that it's part of the topic? You know what led to the thing? What the motivation was?
Whether he was naughty in the things he did after the election
naughty.
Because...
He was naughty. Or in the naughty child list.
There is no argument to make that what happened on January 6th rises to the level of insurrection. And that's why an extremely aggressive prosecutor named Jack Smith decided not to charge Donald Trump with that crime because he knew there was no way that he could possibly bring a conviction against anybody, let alone Donald Trump, who told everybody to be peaceful when going to the Capitol, about whether or not that was actually an insurrection, whether that rose to that level. And even in a
I told him to be peaceful.
Colloquial sense, what we've called an insurrection in the past is in a completely different universe. But on the issue of whether there was a real belief on the part of Donald Trump that elections were stolen, I don't understand how anybody could doubt that, aside from the fact that you have to get into Trump's head. In the last 3 elections that Democrats lost, in 2000, 2004, and 2016, a very large number of Democrats believed and asserted that the election was stolen, and was the byproduct of fraud, and the president was, as a result, illegitimate. When I started writing about politics in 2005, the idea that George Bush was the real loser of the election, Al Gore won, was the view of every single liberal and Democrat that I knew. In 2004, there were objections claiming that Karl Rove had interfered in the Ohio vote with the Diebold machines and cheated to make John Kerry lose and George Bush win. And then in 2016, Hillary Clinton and the Democrats said that Donald Trump was the illegitimate winner, that Russia had helped him, and they tried to convince the Electoral College to abandon.
Pretty sure there was a pretty peaceful transfer of power. That Hillary didn't say, I don't know, that the election was stolen. There was talk of Russian intervention, yeah, but there wasn't like, no, not even close.
The certified results of the state. Obviously, you go back to
Hillary conceded the election that night. End of story. Yeah, exactly.
To 1960, and there's a lot of historians believe that election was stolen. So it's not like Donald Trump was the first person to ever wonder or believe that an election was stolen from him. It's a very significant tradition in American political history. If you know anything about politics before 2016.
Oh, he just wondered. Interesting. He just wondered.
2016. And if Trump believed that the election was stolen, and while it's true, a lot of people in the Justice Department and a lot of people in the White House told them they didn't think it was, he did have advisors and lawyers telling him that they think there was evidence of it. Then the question is over, even on these other issues about whether or not Trump engaged in some conspiracy against the United States. But the issue is January 6th an insurrection?
Well, that's right. But I mean, Glenn, since let's one thing, Destiny, and these guys haven't talked to neither is Professor Beatty. Hillary was in videos 2 days ago saying Trump's going to steal this election. So why are they allowed to say it? It's free speech. You don't get indicted for it.
Trump didn't get indicted for that.
Oh my God. They indicted him and they put it in the charging thing in Georgia saying he says the election. You're hoping people don't read the documents.
You can go read it. It's a RICO case. There's a bunch of behavior that is within a RICO case.
Oh my God.
It's self-illegal. That's a RICO case.
Yeah, right.
Can I talk about the differences? So Bush versus Gore, what happened? The Supreme Court ruled and Gore conceded. He stopped saying this election was stolen. He stopped saying I won.
That was Supreme Court.
Yes.
Did Gore refuse to certify the vote? I don't remember. Did he do that?
The vote was certified.
He didn't have an alternate slate of electors?
Exactly.
Okay.
So
after Trump wanted a Supreme Court hearing. Trump wanted the same thing.
62 cases were brought before judges. And you said earlier, none of them were based on evidence. 6 of them were based on standing. 6 out of the 62.
They wouldn't even hear it.
Do you know how many of them were Trump-appointed judges that made those rulings? 17.
So six of them. Let me finish here. 6 of them.
What the hell?
Were based on standing. 4 of those that were based on standing, the judge also analyzed the merits and said there was no evidence or insufficient evidence. So only 2 of them, and that was Texas versus Pennsylvania and Gohmert versus Pence. Do you know what those 2 cases were?
No,
Texas.
I know what the cases are.
Texas tried suing.
No, I agree with you. Biden says inflation's fine right now. I agree with him.
Let me finish. Texas tried suing Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, several other states, saying that the election was stolen. And the judge said, no, Texas can't sue these other states. Somebody in that state who was affected had to sue them. Now, the other case was Gohmert versus Pence. He challenged the Electoral Counts Act of 1807, saying that Pence could overturn the election. He said that
I think that's wrong. I agree with you. I think that was a wrong legal theory.
Those are only 2 that were based on standing.
No, I agree with you on that. So, but what I'm saying is, then if Biden's going to win so big, why can't Trump be on the ballot?
That's not up for Biden to decide. That's up for the Supreme Court to decide.
Biden said he wants him off the ballot.
It doesn't matter what Biden says.
Oh,
Biden's not the one who decides that.
Trump lost. That's
What? I mean, he can say he wants him off the ballot. It doesn't mean it will happen due to him wanting so.
Why he can't have his race car on the track. Yeah, this horse is going to lose, so it can't be in the race. Bull crap.
Who do you think has the authority then to determine the interpretation of Amendment 14?
Man, I know the State Department.
Why can't you answer a single question? Why not just answer one question?
I wonder why. I wonder why he won't answer a single question. What a mystery.
I'm just asking a simple question. Who has the authority ultimately to decide it?
The president has not.
The president has the authority to decide
CNN,
matters of constitution?
You don't let me talk.
Because you won't answer the question.
The president has not been
He's going to ramble. He's not going to answer anything.
Is that going to be like the whole thing? Destiny's going to ask a question. Alex is going to go run into his own world for God knows how much time. And we're going to see a repeat of that for 3 hours. We're already 32 minutes in.
And the legal analysts say that you have to be convicted. So, Destiny, you can sit there and have blue hair and be trending.
No blue hair right now.
And make all these, like, the moon is made of cheese.
Blue hair. Alex Jones is a Destiny watcher. Blue hair.
Destiny.
Does the word convicted?
Every American knows you don't lose your rights when you're not convicted. He's not been convicted. And here's the good news. It's
Jesus Christ. Oh my God. Moderator, do something. Come on. Are you asleep? God. What's happening?
Backfiring people. We have the Declaration of Independence, and we can vote for who we want to.
No, you can't.
Well,
you can't vote for people under 35. You can't vote for non-citizens. Can you?
Nobody stole an election.
Can you
but
vote
you
for
can't vote for who you want.
What? Come on. Moderator, do something, please. What's happening here? Step in.
Nobody stole an election, but you can't vote for who you want.
I think
Nobody stole an election, but you can't vote for who you want.
We just beat this into the ground. Alex, I need you. We just crushed this one into the ground, but I want to ask the question in a slightly
it crashed into the ground. Well said, moderator.
different way. Was this an attempted coup? Do you guys think this was an attempted coup?
Of course it was. Obviously it was.
The Hunter Biden laptop.
Oh my God.
The Hunter Biden laptop. Oh, Hunter Biden laptop. Oh my God.
Hillary Clinton's emails,
the censorship,
Russia
that there's no Russian connection. That's all.
mRNA vaccines.
Take your extra. I want you to take all the
Global
shots.
warming.
How many shots have you had?
None yet. You want to take some?
No, I hope you take
I
them
just want
all.
you to answer one question about any of this.
I want to see you take them all.
Oh my God. Vaccines? Really? Vaccines? Now we're talking about vaccines? Okay.
Talking about the Democrats more than the Republicans on the January 6th debate. Isn't that wild?
Wait.
Isn't that crazy?
They now admit that the shot erases your immune system and doesn't protect you. So you do that little one.
Who confirmed that the vaccine erases your immune system? What? The vaccine erases your immune system? What? Oh my God. This thing is like an attack dog. I don't let it in my house. It sleeps outside. But when I need it, I want him on my side against people like Alex Jones. It erases your immune system, apparently. Now it's a vaccines debate. It's no longer a January 6th debate. It's a debate about vaccines. Hello, Maya Mayor. When you're in your deathbed, you'll ask yourself, vaxxed?
One-liners here.
Trying to take away my Democrat.
Yeah. Let's stay back. All right, guys. Back to topic. Darren.
Vaxxed?
Brian has an answer.
So is it a coup? That's the question.
Yeah, that's
I think it can be debated.
Or an
that
attempted
it was
coup.
A coup.
An attempted coup.
Definitely, I would say it's an attempted coup. And a federal
The coup is flooding the border with aliens.
Alex, hold.
District Judge, U.S. District Judge David Carter actually evaluated the Trump-Eastman scheme. And he said...
All right, we got some big news. I'm not interrupting you.
No.
Hours after.
Not that yet.
U.S. politics. Oh my goodness. What a show. I'm gonna be right back. I'm gonna take some snack to enjoy this. This is getting good. True.
But we had Glenn. Glenn's going to speak after you were.
I'm sorry. I'll shut up now.
So the federal judge, U.S. District Judge David Carter, evaluated.
That's right. Shut up.
The Trump-Eastman scheme.
Another lawyer.
We can go.
Oh my God! Another lawyer. Everyone's a lawyer.
We'll do later. But basically, he said that it was quote a coup in search of a legal theory. This is a federal judge. So a judge.
We have a CIA coup over America. Hey, the CIA killed Kennedy?
Judges aren't part of the CIA.
Oh my God.
I don't think so.
Is that something? Is that a new theory of yours?
No, it's not a new theory of mine. No, the whole thing is a big.
Oh my God, Alex, is that a new theory of yours?
Rotten. But so they can find partisan. They found the Secretary of State of Maine took Trump off the ballot because she had one hearing in a YouTube video. Are we ruled by this lady? Can we not vote for who we want?
So one of the
Jesus. Can we not vote for who we want?
I guess defenses against it being a coup.
Oh wait, here we got Glenn. Glenn speaking. Go for it, man.
I just want so. It's just about I actually want to ask a question that I would love to hear everybody's answer to. But before I do that, just want to say about federal judges. This year, in the last 6 months, 4 different federal judges, district court judge, and then an appellate court unanimously found that the Biden administration gravely violated the First Amendment. In fact, the greatest assault on free speech, the court said, in decades, maybe the history of the judiciary, by systemically pressuring big tech to censor the internet and purge it of all dissent by threatening big tech companies using the CIA, the FBI, and the CDC with punishment if they didn't censor the internet. Now, you may not agree, but according to your standard, 4 different federal judges concluded that, which is infinitely worse in terms of an abridgment of freedom or an attack on the Constitution than anything that Trump is accused of doing.
That's
but in
not
terms
true.
of whether
That's
a digital insurrection by the deep state.
Digital insurrection.
Can I put a pin on one thing real quick? I just want it to be noted.
Hold up, everybody, hold up. Glenn, please finish your point, and then we're going to move on to the response.
The question I want to ask is the question that you asked, Ian, is this a coup? If you look at how other coups are perpetrated. And I think a lot of this is that if you're an American and you have this very soft history, you don't know what a coup is. You think that like what CNN tells you a coup is a coup. Usually the way coups work is the leader of the country, or whoever is in charge of the military, orders the military to seize control of the levers of power. Trump was the commander in chief on January 6th. The military was duty bound to obey his orders. They had a right to disobey if they were illegal, but if this were a coup, why didn't Trump order the military to seize control of the power and turn over the election process to him? Why didn't he order the armed factions that form the law enforcement part of the military and the executive branch that serve under his command to do that as well? That's what happens in a coup. That didn't happen here because Trump wasn't trying to perpetrate a coup.
He wanted the Department of Defense to seize voting machines, and the DOJ turned him down and told him.
The worst thing he did was try to take Biden off the ballot. Remember when Trump said Biden cannot run and have the Justice Department take Biden off the ballot? Oh, God, that was Biden. Sorry. I'm sorry.
To reiterate, also, Biden doesn't have the authority to do that. He still doesn't have the authority to do that.
Jack Smith,
the Supreme Court that Trump has his picks on, that's currently 6-3 conservative, they're the ones who are going to make the final decision on that. I wanted to be known that every single time you try to talk about any of this stuff related to Trump, it's so many Democrat names that comes out of people's mouths. I don't know why people can't just engage on the facts of what happened on and in the events leading up to June 6th an insurrection without having to invoke every other Democratic leader's name.
No name calling.
No, his name's Ding Dong, Destiny, whatever it is. The point is, I was there. There was over a million people, and they said police are attacking. And we got there, like shooting tear gas, and then a bunch of feds helped break through with some idiots that got mad, had a brawl. And then the cops go, "Come on in, everybody, come on in."
So Alex,
so there's everybody sees those videos now.
Okay, so
you call this the new Pearl Harbor, worse than 9/11. 3,000 people. Do you disagree? Let me ask you this.
I was there.
Do you disagree with them claiming this was worse than Pearl Harbor or 9/11?
I think it depends how you ask that question. I would say no, it's not worse than Pearl Harbor or 9/11.
What are you basing on it? Are you basing?
No, I get it. No. Trying to take people's votes away is sacrosanct, but you're trying to take people vote for Trump.
There's an unprecedented that a president of the United States would do everything within his power to prevent the peaceful transfer of power to the next president.
He said, "I want you to peacefully march down to the Capitol."
That is a uniquely horrible event. The march to the Capitol, what was bad was him watching the riot happen for 3 hours and doing nothing.
No, it took him. It was the riot was happening. He spoke for an hour and a half. It started then. Then he got back to the White House, watched it like 30, 40 minutes, and then shot a video.
No, you're lying. He got back to the White House. He got Mark Meadows delivered a note on his desk that Ashley Babbitt had been shot, and he sat there sipping Diet Coke for an hour and a half. The guy that you called your leader.
The way they run these headlines, I was there.
How many pardons did Trump do for the patriots that got unfairly charged with crimes and convicted in the Capitol?
I was there.
Why didn't Donald Trump pardon any of those people? Why didn't Donald Trump pardon any of those people?
I've seen the timelines.
There's not going to be an answer to this. Because there's not. You're scared to answer any questions.
They claimed in their timelines.
Every single
for almost an hour and a half.
Just keep it one at a time. It's
Capitol when he first started speaking. So you had an hour and a half on it didn't exist. I was there.
So you're there, Alex. So tell me, were there weapons
there?
No, nobody used weapons.
So are you telling me?
Yes, there were weapons. You're right. You got me.
He's going to say the cops.
Yeah, they shot Ashley Babbitt and they threw people off the balcony and they beat a woman's brains out. You're right.
There were 75.
Oh no, nobody shot a woman. Nobody beat a woman to death.
Nobody beat a woman on the ground. That's a fake video that got put out. That was not real.
Ashley Babbitt's fake, folks.
He was shot.
I like how you would think that years after the event, we're now getting unreleased footage. Like there were 1,000 people sitting right around it. There's video of that event from 5 different angles without her getting beat by a baton. How would that take years to report?
Oh my God! Everybody on X, get him saying they didn't beat a woman to death.
Everybody watching, go to Google.
Yeah. Let's.
You just screwed yourself.
I asked you about weapons.
Got your ass. Woo! All
right, Alex.
Yeah, got his ass now.
Once you're done celebrating,
Ashley Babbitt, nobody died. Old woman didn't get drugged in by the cops and beat by batons.
This is an Eagles-Cowboys game. What is that?
No, he wants to do little one-ups and just.
So what Trump fans are, it's a sports game to them.
The audience only goes off how much emotion there is. I can top you.
Alex,
I can top you.
Buddy. Calm down. Calm down. Okay. So you said the weapons were the Fed shooting Ashley Babbitt. What about how about the guy the 3 men on the corner of 14th and Independence who had AR-15s? How about?
They use those?
They didn't use them, but
what about the pipe bomb?
I asked you a question.
Who's that?
Alex, I asked you a question if people had weapons. How about how many weapons were seized? Like,
hey, I got a dick.
75
I got a
of the
dick.
people
That means
arrested.
I'm raping people.
75 of the people arrested within the Capitol building had weapons.
Let's we have a couple of clips.
Knives and stuff. Oh, the knaves have weapons and disarm them immediately.
Guy Reffitt. How about Guy Reffitt?
I have a dick.
What is he? 3%er or 3%?
Does he have nuclear weapons like Biden?
He
So we're
had,
going to use them on
he had
Russia?
a handgun on the stairs of the Capitol
He
building.
had a handgun.
As he was
have a dick.
encouraging people to.
That's worse than Pearl Harbor.
As he was saying, telling people to go into the Capitol, as he was saying he wants to drag Nancy Pelosi out of the Capitol and hopes her head hits every stair on the way out.
Did he say
Let me
go into
finish.
the Capitol like
Can I
Rams?
just finish my point before you cut me off? He wanted to drag Nancy Pelosi out and let her head hit every stair on the way out. He said,
and a guy pooped on Pelosi.
Finish, Alex.
So
Alex,
we don't blame him.
Yeah, let Ed finish this point because we're going to go to Darren really
He
quick.
said on his way to the Capitol building that they're going to take the Capitol and insert their own government.
Yeah, so
and he had a
out of a
handgun
million
on the
people, a
steps of
few
the Capitol
lunatics were
building.
there, and you call it like Martians invading and blowing the earth up. Like Glenn Ringwald said.
His intention wasn't an insurrection.
Yeah,
Are you saying his intention wasn't an insurrection? He's saying he's going to drag Nancy Pelosi out. He's saying
And he wasn't under Trump's command.
All right.
Trump didn't tell him. Trump said go peacefully.
Alex,
They are all shouting all at once. I swear. What's happening? What am I supposed to add to this? They're just shouting.
Trump said go peacefully.
Yes, you can finish your point, and then we're going to go to Darren.
Can we use a mute button or something
Moderator.
on Alex?
No, I'm not going to be run over.
So he was on his way to the Capitol building saying, we're going to take the Capitol and install our own government. He had a handgun in his
so Trump, and I'm guilty?
handgun on
I'm
his,
guilty?
in his,
No, Alex, let
Moderation is non-existent, is it?
him finish.
on the stairs of the Capitol saying he's going to drag Nancy Pelosi and Mitch McConnell out. But you don't have a problem with that. That's
He
not
didn't use
that's
a
Moderation is spraying online good.
gun.
What do you think, Darren?
because
All
he didn't
you
use a gun because he didn't have the
killing
opportunity to shoot Nancy Pelosi or Mike Pence.
Did he
That's
kill him?
okay. He didn't have access
I
to
didn't
them.
say it was okay.
Thankfully, the Capitol Police.
What about the Q shaman? What about the Q shaman they let in?
The Capitol Police.
All right.
Shaman.
Okay.
Them
Oh my
away
God, a
from
guy had a
the
gun.
guys
We
with
martial
guns.
law. All the Americans are guilty. You can't vote for Trump now. A guy had a gun.
I've been asked by Zero Hedge to moderate this debate, so that's what I'm going to do. Everyone, quiet down. We're going to Darren Beatty. Darren,
Oh my God.
what's happening?
What's the question here?
Now, you've been hearing all
Is this a freaking coup? What do you think about what they've been saying
No,
as well?
I don't
is
think
so
it's
ridiculous.
a coup. I think question of an insurrection, you can go to the etymology of rising up. That could be anything. If we keep the proper perspective in mind, it doesn't elevate to anything resembling the Civil War, 9/11, or any of the crazy
What,
comparisons.
one guy with a gun isn't as big as the Civil War?
No.
They didn't use the gun?
Darren, keep going.
So there's that. The scope, I think, matters, and that's what we're really getting at when we talk about insurrection. The courts are politically weaponized, so I wouldn't even rest, the legitimacy and the question on the determinations of the courts, which we can see are running away with pretty wild and ridiculous theories.
Weaponized.
Yeah, of course.
Weaponized court system. So there's that. And then, these, sure, there are
courts are
random nut
compromised.
jobs who are around D.C. on that day and any other day. And so I don't think that's relevant to the ultimate question of whether it was a coup, whether it was an insurrection. And as I said before, the stuff about Trump and the legal theory behind his, multiple part plan, that could be an interesting discussion. It's technically outside the scope of the debate. But again, I would reiterate, anyone who knows Trump, anyone who knows people who knows Trump, 100% certainty Trump genuinely believes that the election was stolen. He had multiple legal advisors. Many of his advisors were trying to sabotage him from day one. Just because he was advised by one of these snakes doesn't mean that he therefore
it's the
agrees
snake.
with what they say. He agreed with the people who told him it was stolen and that he had legal recourse to address that, which he implemented. There's nothing that rises to an insurrection or coup about that either, even though that's outside of the scope of our discussion for today.
So Cassidy Hutchinson said that Trump said to Mark Meadows, "I don't want people to know we lost. It's embarrassing."
I'm glad that you mentioned her because this gets to the televised sham that was
well,
these.
she was under oath. Who under oath for Trump said?
Well, she changed her story a bunch.
Yeah,
she was under oath.
Yeah,
she was under oath. So the thing here is that
oath.
Listen. So the thing here is
why is the January 6th committee destroying the transcript?
The January 6th committee called near 98% of their witnesses were Republicans.
It was kangaroo.
These people were under oath Republicans, and they testified. The people who didn't testify within the Trump circle, there were dozens who Fifth Amendment. They refused to say a word. So you're going to tell me that the people that testified under oath are the liars, but the people that said things in the public but failed to say anything under oath are the ones that are telling the truth.
I wasn't just there on January 6th. I was in that congressional hearing and took the fifth 98 times.
I was
and not because I had anything to hide. The Fifth Amendment isn't just to incriminate yourself. It's because they wanted me in a perjury trap, and they were to have witnesses claim something wasn't true. I think attacking the Capitol makes us win an election?
Yeah, but witnesses against their testimony versus you can't get you in perjury. They can't.
Oh, yeah, just ask Roger Stone that question.
No, it doesn't happen that way. How did perjury get Roger Stone that way?
Roger Stone wasn't involved with WikiLeaks. He worked here then. He couldn't get a hold of him. I knew he told the truth. He didn't tell anybody I'm behind the WikiLeaks. They said Roger Stone ran WikiLeaks. He never even talked to Julian Assange.
They say he ran WikiLeaks.
No, they freaking tried to put him
in communication. I think this is getting off topic.
Oh my God,
this is off topic. That's okay.
Roger didn't lie to Congress when he said, I don't know I have not interviewed Assange.
Let's pull back to Darren. Darren's going to finish off what you were saying about this, and I think, Glenn, you were going to mention something after that, and then I have a couple of clips that we're going to play, but Darren.
Yeah, I mean, the January 6th hearings were a show trial of the sort that would make Kim Jong-il blush.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Explain it to them. They wouldn't let Republicans that they wanted under the law on the committee.
Oh, yeah.
They wanted Jim Jordan, who was actually part
of the investigation. You on your side. We pick who the people are on our jury.
Jim Jordan was being investigated by the committee.
Trump either.
They wanted a person on the committee who was being investigated by the committee. How does that make sense?
Oh my God, when you're being investigated by the Democrats, you don't have a look.
I think a lot of people watching don't understand. Hey, guys.
Jim Jordan was elected.
Does that matter?
The people that are listening don't have the context, so if we start rapid fire argumentation, a lot of people are going to lose interest. We need to stay focused and listen to each other. It's really important.
Staying focused makes it really hard for them to win their case.
It is really hard.
In their case when they have to stay focused.
It's all very hard, but
with any of their views of reality.
It is possible.
Well, I'm going to go take a piss, and I'll let you tell people fairy tales.
But what's happening is Darren is going to continue what you were saying about finishing up your thought, and then we're going to Glenn Greenwald.
Yeah, well, the thought was just about this Hutchinson, and she said a lot of things. I believe she was the one who said that Trump reached over to the steering wheel and, told the Secret Service this or that, which was a bizarre thing because the Secret Service agents in question weren't the ones that were called upon to testify under oath.
Some of them testified the same thing that Cassidy Hutchinson said.
No, the Secret Service actually said we would love to testify, and they weren't allowed to. The two Secret Service agents in question in that specific anecdote were not allowed to testify. So why would they take the secondhand report from Hutchinson when they could have interrogated directly the people who would have been direct witnesses to that?
Yeah,
they're in
not those two specific agents. But why not?
Other agents in the car with Trump testified for the J6 committee. I don't know why they would or wouldn't testify or have particular people testify, but other people in that car did.
Damn.
No.
Yes,
the two people.
Yeah, Glenn.
The January 6th committee, and it's what Alex was alluding to just a second ago, is one of the biggest shams in the history of Congress, because what happened with the January 6th committee was we had a long history of 225 years of tradition in the United States Congress where whenever investigative commissions would be created within the Congress, the minority leader and the majority leader would each select the members of that committee to ensure there was fair representation by both parties. Nancy Pelosi, for the first time in the history of the United States, as Speaker of the House, refused to allow the Republicans who were chosen for that committee by Kevin McCarthy, at the time the Republican minority leader, to be seated on the panel. And as a result, the Republicans said, we're going to have nothing to do with this. And the only quote unquote Republicans that were chosen was Liz Cheney, who ended up losing her seat by 36 points, and Adam Kinzinger, who didn't bother running again because they were so unrepresentative of the Republican Party. It was a completely partisan commission. And on top of that, none of the videotapes that were available was made available to the public except for very deceitfully chosen snippets by Adam Schiff and by Liz Cheney. And it was only within the last several months that we saw all of the video footage, and what it showed makes a joke of the idea that this was a coup. You had people peacefully walking into the Capitol, led by many of the police officers who encouraged them to enter peacefully, which they did. The vast majority of people who were there at January 6th aren't even charged with using violence, and that's what makes this whole debate such a preposterous joke. If you look at how coups are carried out in other countries, you could make a much better case that the Black Lives Matter protests of 2020 was an insurrectionary movement. And the reason it matters, Destiny, is because if you're going to make arguments, there has to be an important test, which is, do you apply the same principles you're claiming to profess and believe in to cases where it undermines your partisan allegiance and your ideology, not only where it helps it. That's one of the key tests for determining the authenticity of your argument. And so if you don't think the 2020 protest movement was an insurrectionary movement against the United States government, there's no way to claim what January 6th was, especially since Trump could have done so much more to cause a coup that he did not do because that wasn't his aim ever.
If you want to talk about applying the same standard, would you have been okay in the year 2000 if Gore refused to certify the vote because he didn't like what was happening in Florida?
A lot of Democrats did want him to do that.
Can you answer that question? Glenn, answer the question.
Yeah, and I would have actually, yes, a lot of Democrats were angry about that.
I'm not asking if a lot of I'm asking you would be okay personally if he refused to certify the vote.
I think there were two.
You want to answer the question? In 2016, would you have been okay if Biden?
Because if you really believe that an election is stolen, as the Democrats claim they did, then it is kind of odd to say we're just going to concede that and allow George Bush to march into power, even though we believe that he actually stole the election.
Yes,
that is kind of an odd way to go about it.
It's not all that all. We live in a democracy. There are appropriate forums through which you can challenge.
Did they not battle that out in the courts?
And they lost. Once
okay,
you had
there
your day
you go.
In court and you
Trump
lost,
was battling it out in the court,
and he lost. Once you lose, anything past that is vigilantism. Vigilantism directed at the government to prevent the peaceful transfer of power to entrench your own power is an attempted coup. That's what he tried to do.
Trump did, though. He told them to be peaceful. He told them go and be peaceful.
We're not talking about the peaceful protesters. And if he wanted them to be peaceful, he would have called in the National Guard as soon as they started rioting, but he didn't do that.
Yeah, You're talking about his use of the legal process, of the congressional and judicial process.
It was not a legal process.
And he contested. If he had ordered the military or some other FBI or any of those agencies, the CIA, to go and use violence on domestic soil in order to ignore those court rulings the way people do when they're trying to implement coups, you would have a good argument. He didn't do any of that. He invoked all of his legal rights in the judiciary and in the Congress. He lost and he walked out of the White House on January 20th.
By the way, Destiny here doing relatively great. Sadly, he himself spreads lies about the BLM. Well, you know. At least we have a good showing here. We can cheer for him here. This is so wild. The boss is Tanky Biden.
20th. He did not have to be dragged out. He wasn't arrested by the military, which is what happens in coups. So much of this is because you only started paying attention to politics in 2016. You only live in the United States. You have no idea about history or anything that happens in other countries. You have no idea what a coup is.
I live in Poland. Thank you very much.
This is a coup.
Glenn, you bring that up. Glenn, you bring that up, and you're trying to use Hawaii as an example for something that was comparable, where both slates of electors were actually duly elected by the people there. In the 60s, Hawaii and South Carolina, these other historical examples that people go to for multiple slates of electors are not at all comparable. Both of these things happened prior to 2016. There are no examples in U.S. history, or if you want to give me one, since you know so much history prior to 2016, give it to me. Is there any other examples in U.S. history where the president is telling the vice president to unilaterally not certify the vote?
When he's doing something
Has that ever happened before?
That's a totally separate question.
No,
from
that
whether
is
this
what
is a
happened on January 6th.
It doesn't matter if it's the first time that it ever happened. Even if it's the first time or the 10th time, it's still not a coup or an insurrection. A coup or an insurrection is when you use violence and force in order to seize control of power outside of the legal process.
So a coup has to have. So if there's no violence, it can't be a coup.
Wasn't there violence? I saw violence.
Yeah, you need violence in order to be the coup. The
How much
amount of
violence do you
that
need?
happened on the Capitol on January 6th, the most
25
amount of violence
grams.
to the January 6th protesters, not from them. Again, not a single protester whipped out a gun, let alone used a gun. That is an extremely weird coup.
How many officers were injured? 140?
Wait.
Is that enough violence for you?
Well, here's a good question about who, like, staging a coup and emergent phenomenon, and if a crowd becomes violent, or if someone directs the crowd to become violent. This is actually the next question on my list. Do you guys think that Trump was responsible for this thing?
You can have a bloodless coup, by the way. Bloodless coups are a thing. If, for example, it's possible to do a bloodless.
Before you answer, I want to play a couple of clips. We have clip 1 and 2. These are from Trump's speeches on the day. I think the first clip is before the violence kicked off. Maybe we can play that first.
I know that everyone here will soon be marching over to the Capitol building to peacefully and patriotically make your voices heard. We can't play into the hands of these people. We have to have peace. So go home. We love you. You're very special. You've seen what happens. You see the way others are treated that are so bad and so evil. I know how you feel. But go home and go home in peace.
That second clip was from after the violence had become, and so he was kind of doing damage control, I think, at that point.
I just don't understand all of the insanely arbitrary caps that we're trying to create to try to say that it wasn't a coup. Well, there was violence, but there wasn't enough. There was a subversion of the democratic process, but it didn't end up working. Like, if the plan would have gone as Donald Trump wanted it to have gone, which is Vice President Pence unilaterally tossing out the Electoral College vote, and if Donald Trump would have retained power past when he was supposed to lose it, what is that if not a coup? What would you call that?
No one ordered those people, the few hundred that actually fought police, to do that.
That's great. What would you call that, though? If
Trump's not been charged.
No one said Trump's been charged with insurrection or inciting a riot.
You say
Jack Smith especially did.
But we can't vote for him because they say he's guilty.
What would you call it if Pence would have unilaterally thrown out the vote and Trump would have held on to power for some weeks,
Trump was calling for a 10-day Senate investigation. That's why we were there.
That's great. What would have happened if Pence would have thrown out the vote?
No, that's a hypothetical. Trump wanted a 10-day investigation.
No, but
I don't care what Trump
also wanted Pence to throw out the
what would have happened? What would you have called that?
Him and Eastman were pushing for that.
Yeah, what would we have called that? Can I get a name for that? If you don't want to call it a coup or an insurrection, what would you call that?
Well, I'd call it taking Trump off the ballot and saying we can't vote for him.
I know you won't answer because you probably know he's guilty. That's fine. What about you or Glenn?
Guilty.
Glenn, what would you call it if the president was able to entrench his power by asking his vice president to throw out the vote unilaterally, which is what he was trying to do? Do you want to deny the facts? Do you want to deny that it's a coup? What part?
A coup.
I think
you're lucky there wasn't a real coup.
Shows the weakness of the argument, but if that had happened, my guess is it would have ended up in the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court would have made the decision about whether Mike Pence exercised his proper authority as vice president, and then Donald Trump, if he had run out of options, would have left the White House on January 20th without any need for military force or police force, exactly how he did. And I would have called that the exhaustion of all of the legal remedies available to the president in the event that he thinks that an election
and
was
therefore
stolen.
it would have been just the way the Bush v. Gore thing played out.
Okay,
exhausting your legal options, getting up to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court makes the determination.
Let Darren finish.
If both of you accept that, then if the Supreme Court says that because of Amendment 14, Section 3, Trump can't be on the ballot, you would both accept that as well?
I wouldn't, but I think that would be authoritative. I would think it would be
authoritative, but Donald Trump, one man, centralizing power among himself to remain in power, that's not authoritative. What could be?
He didn't do that.
That's
not
what he tried
happened.
to do. That is what happened. Glenn, I know you only read tweets and headlines, Glenn, but believe it or not, that's actually what happened.
He wanted a 10-day, and that was our goal, was a 10-day Senate investigation into the Constitution.
That's not what was happening behind the scenes, though. There's testimony from the lawyers involved.
They were wargaming everything.
Exactly.
The Attorney General, the Assistant AG, the Assistant Deputy AG, all of his legal counsel, all of the state senators, all of the congressmen.
If I can talk over you, I can be way better than you.
That's what you've been doing the whole time.
No, you're doing it, and then I dominate you. You can't handle it.
Okay.
He didn't do that, and he left, is the point. And that's the reality. And now they say we can't vote for him, even though we all know Biden's going to win by 10 million votes.
That's why we call it an attempted coup and not an actual successful coup.
Alex, do you think that Trump was responsible for this thing on January 6th?
100% not. He'd had hundreds of rallies around the country, 5 or 6 that we were part of in the months before this. And we had the space. Here's the Capitol, right up here by the Supreme Court on the Capitol grounds. We had a stage. And then we get there, and it's bedlam. And so, no, Trump didn't think attacking the Capitol would make him look good. That's why he came out and said that don't do this and go home.
Why didn't he call them off immediately if he thought it didn't make him look good?
It was happening while he was giving a speech.
Wrong. The reason why he didn't call them off is because him, Giuliani, and Eastman were making phone calls to other senators and congressmen asking them to decertify the electoral vote.
No.
You were there, but you weren't.
Do you acknowledge that happened, or do you not acknowledge it?
We're talking about the crowd.
I don't care about the crowd. I'm saying that as the riot was raging on and he was sitting there sipping his Diet Coke, if this really made him and his followers look bad, why didn't Donald Trump make a video immediately?
I'm about to do it because I can talk over you really easy.
That's what you've been doing the whole time.
No, you're doing it.
I look forward to you dodging the question again. Go ahead.
You're doing it. You're doing it.
No, you.
So, you.
No, you.
No, you.
You.
No, you.
You.
Both of you.
Keep doing it. It's what he does. He doesn't have facts.
Break it up.
Trump did, while he was speaking, I was getting text messages, violence in the Capitol, and I left to try to go stop it. And when I got there, he was still speaking. So this thing where you guys say, the attack started at this time and Trump did nothing this time, he's speaking while it happens for hours. He then goes to the White House, tries to figure out what's going on, and puts a statement out against it. And he said, in the middle of his speech,
very special.
off a teleprompter, go be peaceful. That's what he said.
Didn't Trump get back to the was like 1:30?
He also said fight like hell.
Yeah, why didn't you play those clips?
If we don't fight like hell, we're not going to have a country. What did Rudy Giuliani say? He said, let's have trial by combat.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
That's a legal term. Maxine Waters said,
really, that's
go
a legal
attack
term.
Republicans in restaurants
That's
grocery stores.
So why don't...
With her, it wasn't hyperbole.
Why don't
Trump
we
never
ask...
said, Trump never supported political violence. Trump never told people to be goons. The lefts would burn down half the country. Everybody knows that. Everybody knows Biden's erased the border. Everybody knows all this. You're sitting there claiming this was. Do you agree this was big as Pearl Harbor?
No, that is no.
What are you comparing it? As big as Pearl Harbor in what way?
3,000 died in Pearl Harbor.
People dead? No. Maybe a blemish on our democracy? I'd say it was very close.
Let me ask you this. If they bring in, which they've done, 10 million illegal aliens the last 3 years, and then that gives them, with the congressional seats in the census, more Democrat seats in the Congress, is that
undocumented aliens, undocumented immigrants are not voting.
They are counted.
No, they are not.
They're counted in the census.
But they're not voting.
They're counted in the census.
They're not voting.
So then they get more Democrat
districts. Can we backtrack really fast?
Oh, my God.
So let's backtrack.
Ladies and gentlemen, they're already stealing elections with the illegals. They get more congressional,
January 6th.
They get more congressional districts.
Yeah, I do
want to go back to January 6th? Okay, so you play those clips.
Oh, you always want to get off of it because it wasn't an insurrection.
I came here to debate
and then
January 6th,
as soon as I bring up the real insurrection, you can't handle it.
I'm not here to debate immigration.
Yeah, talk to me, Brian.
Okay, yeah, so why don't we ask the Oath Keepers, the 3%ers, the Proud Boys, the ones who were actually indicted and convicted of seditious conspiracy, why they did it? And
you know, they told us.
No, yeah, they did tell us.
In both kangaroo trials.
Let
Brian finish.
And then you can come back at me.
All right.
Joe Biggs, he said, I did it because this is where Trump wanted me. He wanted me to do this. Stewart Rhodes, Oath Keepers, same thing. I did it for Trump. Multiple Proud Boys and Oath Keepers, they all said, I was here because of Trump. I went into the Capitol. I took the Capitol because that's what Trump wanted. So was Trump responsible? Ask them. Ask the people that are serving 20 years in prison for seditious conspiracy.
I'd like to respond to that now. I know Stewart Rhodes well. I know Joe Biggs well. He used to work here. And they have never said Trump told them to go into the Capitol. They have never said they did it because he asked them to. That is not a true statement.
That is a true statement. I have their quotes right here.
Joe Biggs shook a fence. Stewart Rhodes said he never told anybody to go in the Capitol and never went in the Capitol. And you just said they said that Trump told them.
Multiple Proud Boys said they were in the Capitol because that's what Trump wanted. Trump
you're
wanted
reading a Jack Smith federal filing? Next we'll tell me the
Jack Smith didn't indict the Proud Boys.
They have messages between the group. They have the actual
I know all about it.
Yes, so they have them. So are you saying these are fabricated?
No, read me the quotes.
Yeah, read those quotes.
I mean, I have said we were here to storm the Capitol. We were here because of Trump. I mean, there's literally dozens of these
pretty
quotes.
Different. And so they say Trump told me to.
What's the best quote
Nobody
you have?
is
Trump
hold on.
said
No,
go
wait.
peacefully.
This is a red herring. Nobody. They're not saying that Donald Trump personally communicated to them to go to the Capitol. What they're saying is the reason why they were there, which I think over 147 convicted people have thus far in their convictions have said the reason why they were there is because Trump called them to go there, not personally. You know how many of those people? You know how many of those people cited Ray Epps as the reason why they were in the Capitol? Take a guess.
Well, wait a minute.
Yeah, Darren.
In both Proud Boys and Oath Keepers cases, the Fed said there was no direct conspiracy.
No one is talking about
that.
But
they went on to say it's a new conspiracy where it's not written or said. They just imagine it.
Incitement of violence.
I want to be clear. I want to be clear. What is your contention with this? Give me the quote and then what your contention is in relation to the quote.
Like Destiny said, there are 140 convictions where the people convicted said, I was there because of Trump. Trump called us to do this. And when I say called us, I don't mean he called them on the phone and said...
for the sake of argument that that's true, what is your conclusion from that?
That Trump helped incite this...
Well, just because they thought they were helping Trump, that doesn't mean that Trump told them to do that.
Let me say
that's true, but like, let's look at the actions.
Famous.
It's like, wait, Alex. It's like saying,
moderator.
Alex, Charles Manson presumably thought Helter Skelter was, telling him to kill.
Mod.
So is that the argument there? That Trump is essentially Helter Skelter, and he's telling these Proud Boys that you need to go and storm the Capitol?
Do the mob boss tell his peons, go kill this guy, or do they use other language?
Well, what's the language that he used that you think is criminal?
The language Trump. The language
What's the language? Wait.
The language and the ideas that Trump discussed was that the election was being stolen.
Okay,
from
so that's criminal.
I never said that was criminal. He's not being indicted for that speech. You're asking why are the people at the White House? All of the Trump's indictments and charges for January 6th are not focused on the people at the White House.
So what's the chain of argument there? That Trump.
The question was just why are the people there?
The election was stolen, and people assumed that they interpreted that as meaning, we need to go to storm the Capitol, that's somehow Trump's fault and he's criminally liable for it, and it rises to an insurrection. Well, I'm trying to be clear what the contention is.
Let me explain it. What Trump did was Trump laid out very precisely exactly what he believed had happened. He thought that the vote was being stolen, that our country was being taken from us.
Not believe what he wanted others to believe.
Yeah, what he wanted, that Congress wasn't acting, that Mike Pence was supposed to be the guy to do it, but he hadn't heard good things about them, and they needed to go down to the Capitol building to protest. To protest what? To protest.
Out of a million
Nobody is saying that. You're repeating the same thing. You're like a broken record. You're a broken record.
No, I'm not a broken record.
Trump has every right.
You try to shut me down. Listen, here's the bottom line. Trump's not been charged with insurrection.
No one said he was.
Trump didn't, but you're saying people can't vote for him.
No, I'm not saying that. That's up to the Supreme Court.
No, that's do you support
no one here is talking about him being...
Do you support Colorado and Maine taking him off the ballot?
That's up to the Supreme Court.
No, you punt. Do you think it's good for the opposing party, when a guy's way ahead in the polls, to remove someone from the ballot?
That's not the
It's not about him being ahead in the polls or not. It's about whether or not he engaged in insurrection, and if the self-executing part of the 14th Amendment allows states to remove him from the ballot.
Where is Trump found guilty of insurrection?
You don't need a conviction for the 14th Amendment.
About this for like an hour.
Alex, read it. Can we bring the 14th Amendment up on?
Can you read the Declaration of Independence? You're misrepresenting that, and it doesn't matter because we have a right to vote for who we want, right?
No, you don't.
Within reason.
You can't vote for somebody under 35 years old. You can't vote for somebody that's not a U.S. citizen.
It looked like you wanted to chime in, Glenn.
But he's unpopular, though. He lost. But we can't vote for him now.
If you think it's so bad that courts are kicking him off the ballot, what do you think about Trump doing the birtherism card for Obama for how many years? That was the first big political thing he was known for, was challenging whether Obama was even born in the United States in an attempt to get him kicked off the ballot.
No, you know why? I can play the clips of Obama's.
And now you're going to justify that.
No, you're not. You're going to read my mind?
That's what it sounded like you're about to do.
You're
play
scared
the clips.
Of me talking.
I'm not scared of you talking.
There's clips of Obama and his wife saying he was born in Kenya. I don't believe he was born in Kenya. He was born in Hawaii to the head of the Communist Party there, actually. Wow. So and who's in his book and hanging out, Frank. So that's what's going on here. It doesn't matter. If Trump wants to say the moon's made of cheese, we have a right to vote for him.
Trump can say whatever he wants. That's not what's getting him removed from the ballots, potentially.
Glenn. He's a loser.
You can vote for him. You can vote for him if you want. You can vote for him. You can write him in, but the 14th Amendment says he can't hold office if he incited insurrection or gave aid to an
who found him guilty of insurrection?
We talked about the Civil War earlier. Nobody was found guilty of violating insurrection rebellion statute during the Civil War.
I have a question.
Nobody. And that was an insurrection.
Wait.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to my house for a moment. Hello. Hi, I'm Ian Crossland, and I'm moderating this awesome debate. Glenn Greenwald's about to speak. I want to hear what he has to say. He's been waiting patiently for about 1 minute. Glenn, what's happening?
Thanks. Yeah. So first of all, on the issue of the ballot, there have been split decisions on this, and even Democratic judges in Colorado, and then the Democratic, very partisan Secretary of State in Rhode Island, as well as in California, have all said they don't think it's appropriate to remove Trump from the ballot because he has not yet been charged with, let alone convicted of, insurrection. So I want to be very deferential to Destiny's incredible achievements in constitutional scholarship, but there are actually a lot of even Democratic Party elected officials who are saying, as well as judges of the Colorado Supreme Court who were appointed by Democratic Party governors, who are saying that you cannot actually remove somebody because to remove them from the ballot is to punish them for a crime, insurrection, that Trump has never been charged with and therefore has never had the opportunity to defend himself the way a criminal did.
Wait, why are you citing the dissent?
No, Glenn,
why is he citing the dissent? Why are you citing a dissent in a losing case? Like it proves your point.
No, also,
that's what I thought. Okay.
He just knows that people are dumb.
I have a direct question.
I know you're scared of Glenn. Let him continue. No one's ever been taken off the ballot without being convicted.
Okay, Glenn, continue, and then Darren's going to add.
The Secretaries of State of California and Rhode Island have also said the same thing, but it's true. The Supreme Court will decide. I'm very confident they'll decide Trump can remain on the ballot, and then that will resolve that issue. Yes. The question I have a few questions quickly. One is, why didn't anybody like Jack Smith charge Trump with engaging in an insurrection? If Trump was engaged in an insurrection or inciting an insurrection, you would hope, I would think, that he would be charged with that. I don't think he was, so I'm happy he wasn't. But for those of you who think he was, why wasn't he charged with that? And then the second one is, I just want to know, given that the 2020 riots did have a lot of people in there who were nonviolent and were there not for insurrectionary reasons, but had a lot of people who were anarchist and insurrectionist and who engaged in a lot of violence, a lot more than was done on January 6th. Do you also think that the riots of 2020 constituted an insurrection? I'm just trying to understand, to get a sense for what your definition of insurrection is.
Glenn, do you think that the 1992 riots?
Answer what I asked? I asked 2 questions. Can you just answer that? And then I'll ask
I can give 3 really quick answers for these.
Yeah, I can give answers too. I don't think that Black Lives Matter was an insurrection. I do think 1992 riots in LA was an insurrection. George Herbert Walker Bush.
Black Lives Matter black that made it not an insurrection. What did it lack?
So it was a protest, and the violence was when the police clashed with the protesters. The violence was not against the government in order to stop the government from doing something.
There weren't Antifa and anarchist groups there that explicitly say they were using violence to overthrow the government. That didn't happen.
They were firebombing federal courthouses. God, that's not true.
They were the bombs on the courthouses. There's nobody. It was at nighttime. There's nobody in there. They were not obstructing anything.
The firefighters got cited. Arson's a serious crime.
They were not there to obstruct an official proceeding of a government.
Wait, just burned down a courthouse. That's really quick.
I want to ask Glenn. Do you think 1992 was an insurrection?
Notice you didn't answer Glenn's question.
I just did answer it. I just answered it.
Yeah, but no. The Democrats.
Alex, I did answer it. I specifically answered it.
Glenn, please,
You answered it. Yeah. But I mean, I think the 1992 riots, I recall at the time thinking the Insurrection Act was inappropriately invoked. I'd have to go back and really study the 1992 riots to see the extent of the violence. But I do think that you're asking that indicates why the 2020 riots are way closer to an insurrection than anything happened after the 2020 election. And the reason you're afraid to say that it is an insurrection is purely for ideological and partisan ends, because you don't want to liberals weren't engaged in an insurrection.
You asked him a question. Let me finish.
There's riots every week in America.
The Democrats were saying the Black Lives Matter riots were good and bailing them out.
You know what? Here's something that I think.
Democrats were saying be violent everywhere.
They were not.
When we talk
Everybody get the clips. Get him. Take the clip and get him.
When we talk about an insurrection,
he got your ass.
I want to let Stephen finish this up.
When we're talking about an insurrection, okay, I think all three of us here would agree that if there was a congressional session or a state legislative session and people were voting on it and BLM rioters went up and they tried to firebomb the House to stop the vote, I think all of us would agree that's an insurrection. But you guys, hello, oh my God, I almost finished the sentence. Does that scare you? Are you okay?
Way more violent stuff in capitals than Trump people.
We understand. Yes, space lasers, we're destroying houses in Hawaii, okay? You keep bringing back the amount of violence. The amount of violence isn't relevant. All of us here agree that obviously over the entire course of the BLM riots,
Capitol, it's great. When Democrats endorse them storming, is good.
Over the course of the BLM riots, there was lots of violence. I think everybody on this side of the table is okay with charging and convicting
Democrats storming capitals all over the country?
Everybody here is okay with charging and convicting anybody that was guilty of a violent act. However, violence, no matter how much, does not make an insurrection. It's the obstruction or rebellion against the United States for the Jack Smith obstruction charge, obstructing an official process like certifying the vote.
Cool. Okay, we're going to go to Darren. We're going to go to Darren now.
Darren, a question.
Yeah. Let me ask. So first of all, it wasn't just violence. There are aspects of the BLM uprisings that involved, at one point, Trump was forced to go into a secure bunker in the White House. They broke through the Treasury.
He called in the National Guard
that.
Then. Did he remember
I have a
that?
question. I have a question about the 14th Amendment for Destiny or anyone. So let's assume that it doesn't require a conviction. In your view, who is most appropriate to make that determination? If it doesn't require... Well,
so the real answer is it's hard to tell. Personally, I don't like the way the 14th Amendment Section 3 is written. I've got a lot of friends who will hate me for saying that. And I think that the Supreme Court probably will rule against it because the problem with the 14th Amendment is the self-executing part of it means basically anybody involved in that balloting process and putting them on the ballot could make that determination.
So you basically agree it has to go up to the Supreme Court and be decided before he can be justly removed from ballot.
Let me say this. The Declaration of Independence, and you were talking about insurrection. I want to fix this peacefully. But I have a right, not from the Declaration of Independence, it already points out what's there, to abolish a government when the majority of us agree we're done with it. So, and you got all these movies about Civil War the Democrats are putting out and Obama's putting out. You guys better hope that doesn't happen. We're trying to fix this peacefully. But this is a load of crap. To claim that Republicans and conservatives are this super viral, evil, white supremacist terror group, they're planning crap. No one's buying that. And conservatives and populists and America Firsters see how we're being set up.
You say set up, but Donald Trump is the one setting you up.
Well, this is my question.
Trump said, be peaceful and go to the Capitol. We're going to have a 10-day Senate investigation. I was there.
Did Trump have his people? Did Trump have it? There's a million hours of footage. Trump had 7 different states create 7 false sets of electors that perjured themselves, saying they were duly elected.
I know this.
And they shipped all of those to Congress.
When I tried to have people that I know put clips of me saying don't go in the Capitol, they would take them down. Or we show clips of people pulling off their Antifa gear, putting on Trump gear, and you know, all
Where's the video footage of all the Antifa gear?
Oh my God.
3,000 people have phones there.
Clips tonight. Oh, everybody.
How many Antifa were arrested and charged?
Antifa gear. Gotcha.
How many Antifa?
If Antifa got there, why didn't Donald Trump?
That's when the glasses go bump, bump, bump. I get the cigar.
Yeah,
you guys are talking pretty candidly about media.
You know we're not playing clips.
Why didn't Trump call in the National Guard as soon as the riot started? If Antifa was
he asked for 10,000 National Guard a month before.
No, he didn't. He mentioned it 10 days before. Why didn't he call him in that night? Why didn't he call him in? Look, there's Antifa. Call in the National Guard. He would have ended it in 20 minutes.
So that's another myth that he had the National Guard on standby. Kash Patel said that.
No, he asked for it.
Let me finish. Kash Patel said that Trump asked for it. That's the source of that. Kash Patel and Donald Trump, after the fact, claimed that they had the National Guard on standby. Neither of them testified to that under oath. Do you know who did? The Secretary of State,
Department of Defense.
Secretary of Defense, Christopher Miller, testified under
Trump
oath.
Didn't have it on standby. He asked for it and was refused by Milley. I can pull Washington Post up.
Milley.
He was refused. No, Milley specifically said that's not true. Under oath.
Oh, Milley. Yes. Was that in between his phone calls to Xi Jinping?
The Secretary of Defense, the man who he would have to call in the National Guard. the Secretary of Defense specifically said under oath that Trump never did that. Under oath. Did Trump or
Under oath, they tell people 2 men can have a baby. Can 2 men have a baby?
So what? Why do you
Can 2 men have a baby?
I thought this was January 6th.
No, stop.
Yeah,
Another day.
Under oath.
Alex, let me ask you a question. You're criticizing me for quoting somebody under oath. What is your source? If I'm quoting somebody that said something under the penalty of perjury. Your source is, you just know it, that Donald Trump said it to the public?
No, we're live on air here, just like when this guy said that, you're claiming this was done. You don't have proof. Those clips are all there. Everyone's going to pull those up. They're going to see them.
So there's clips of Donald Trump calling in the National Guard?
No, I'm talking about the last point.
No, you didn't answer my question.
No, I remember the articles.
Can you just answer my question?
You're not listening.
You
want my answer?
Yeah, I do.
When Trump got firebombed and the White House got attacked, he called for the National Guard, and Milley said, "I'll resign if he does it." He then asked the head jurisdiction, it was actually General Flynn's brother, for 10,000 troops, and was in the news. Anybody? I don't have a computer in front of me.
Was there on January 6th?
No. He asked 2 weeks before that they wanted.
It wasn't in the news.
Okay, well, boom, gotcha. Everybody get it.
Show it. Go ahead.
I'm on air right now.
He requested
I don't have a computer. Hold on.
Tell me what you're telling me.
You're just hoping. Listen, they're going to get you.
Tell me what you're telling me. That he requested 10,000 troops.
Watch X tomorrow. Listen to me carefully. Watch X tomorrow.
Okay. And you're gonna. It's gonna be General Flynn making this claim,
and it'll be you, and it'll be all the news articles where Milley says he'll resign if Trump's went National Guard, and then they did it again, and then General Flynn's brother.
That wasn't for January 5th. That was the Washington
I know.
protest.
That's where it begins, and he asked again, and they also, it's all there.
Okay, but you're making the claim that Trump had.
No, you say show it. I'm here.
Why would Trump care if Milley would resign if they're all the deep state? If they're all part of the swamp, why wouldn't he just do it anyway if that's what's right? Trump is the ultimate authority to deploy the national. You're not going to answer that question either.
What's going to happen, Dougherty? What's going to happen is they're all going to get it, and that's the whole. They're all going to show it, and then we'll see.
Yeah, this is making me think about media manipulation in general, and how sometimes you see things, sometimes you don't, sometimes things are real, sometimes they're not, and it leads me to my next question. General for everybody. And by the way, all 6 of you are doing phenomenally, especially you, Glenn. Killing it from Brazil, my man. Do you guys think this election was stolen?
Horrible.
100%. And it's
absolutely not.
And it's my right to say that. But then, covering up the windows with signs, and then all these trucks pulling in, and then the graph where Trump's above, and it perfectly shoots up, and then wins.
I guess define stolen. Define that for me before we answer the question. If
well, I mean, as Professor Epstein and others have said, they do it way before suppressing the Hunter Biden laptop, giving you 96% Google Democrat links. I mean, it's all the stealing's done before. In the algorithm and the censorship and the control. I mean, I remember 5 years ago when I was being deplatformed, they were denying I was being deplatformed and saying there was no censorship. Now we know from the weaponization hearings that all this is going on, and now they're telling us you can't vote for him because he said we won't let you vote for him. I mean,
why is it, if the election was being stolen, why did every single person that Donald Trump trusted to investigate come back and say there was no evidence?
It wasn't every single, a whole bunch of his lawyers.
It was not a whole bunch of his lawyers. And most of his legal counsel said that the few that he ended up going with were crazy.
You just went in 2 seconds from everyone to most.
I said everybody, you got him
trusted,
again.
Show all
I
the
said
Trump
that
lawyers,
everything that every single person that Donald Trump trusted to investigate, meaning the vice president, the Department of Justice, the cybersecurity division of the Department of Homeland Security, all of his White House counsel, I know how it works. I know you're farming TikTok clips, okay? That's what we're doing right now. But the reality is almost every single person that he asked to investigate.
Wait. 2 minutes ago, you said all of them.
That he trusted. He didn't ask Sidney Powell to go and investigate. She brought cockamamie schemes to him, and he said, "Oh, maybe these are okay." Which, by the way, he also said he was crazy.
You just said all wouldn't say there was fraud.
I said all. Get the full quote, kind of like you're missing the rest of the 14th Amendment there. Get everything I'm saying. I know that hurts. I know the context hurts people like you. You live and you breathe 10-second clips. Because anything longer than that destroys everything you're trying to claim.
Telling us, no. They got you again. You just said all his lawyers told him he lost, and we're going to show you the majority saying he won. Gotcha.
Gotcha. Tell us specifically which lawyers said he that
besides
actually
Eastman,
won.
Powell, and Giuliani. Who is on his team here claiming widespread election fraud?
Look. We're live on air.
I know we're live on air.
All these people are convicted and pleaded guilty, except Giuliani.
Folks, get him.
Let's ask. I want to ask Glenn. What do you think, man? Glenn, do you think that this thing was stolen?
I think the election was rigged. I'm not somebody who thinks that there's evidence conclusive that the election was stolen. I do think we should be a lot more attentive to when election processes get changed out of the blue, like, because there's COVID, we're going to have a ton of new conventions for how we do mail-in ballots. I think there's a lot of potential for fraud there. I don't think there's evidence that I've seen, at least, that's conclusive that the 2020 election was stolen. I do think, though, it was rigged in all sorts of ways, from internet censorship to all kinds of interference on the part of the U.S. security state, lying and saying that a very incriminating story about Joe Biden was the byproduct of Russian disinformation when it absolutely was not. Facebook and Twitter censoring that story right before the election. These are all examples of corrupting rigging by institutions of authority. On the question of whether no, I don't. I'm not somebody who thinks there's evidence that it was stolen.
Well, how would you define the difference between rigging it and stealing it?
True.
Rigging it is when institutions of authority cheat or act corruptly in order to manipulate public opinion to prevent stories from getting to them, like those news stories about Joe Biden and the way that he exploited his family connections in Ukraine and China to profit for his family, and lying about it and saying that it's Russian disinformation, censoring the internet to prevent stories from getting to the public, having the security state, the CIA and the FBI that's supposed to have no role in our politics, being the ones to cook up those fabrications. That's all examples of rigging and manipulating our democracy the way that we accuse Russia of doing. The US security state, the corporate media, Twitter and Facebook did that way, way worse. Stealing the election is dumping ballots that were legitimately cast, or fabricating ballots in favor of one candidate or the other that actually weren't cast, manipulating the machines in order to have the loser be the winner. That's what I would distinguish between rigging and stealing.
So to clarify,
do you think that Donald Trump asking Jeffrey Clark to go and threaten the DOJ that if they don't sign on to a false letter trying to bully states into claiming there was mass election fraud by claiming the DOJ had actually found someone that had it, that was testified to under oath.
Oh God, under oath.
Do you think that would be considered an act of corruption?
Under oath.
The whole point is, if Trump legitimately believed that the election was stolen, as Democrats believed in 2000, 2004, 2016, as
no, that's not right. It's not answering the question.
Then I'm answering the question. I just can't do it in 7 seconds. If Trump believed genuinely that the election was stolen, then all of those steps that he undertook to try and present the Congress the way to alleviate the stolen election, to have courts reverse the stolen election, to have Mike Pence exercise what he thought was his constitutional authority, might have been wrongful, but they weren't illegal, and they most definitely weren't a coup.
So if he thought that the election was stolen, he was allowed to tell the DOJ that they needed to sign on to a false letter claiming they'd found election fraud. Otherwise, he would replace Rosen with Clark. That was something he was allowed to do.
False letter. All this stuff's crap.
The DOJ hadn't found anything, so the DOJ attesting that they had found something would indeed be false. That's right. I know. In this world, we need evidence, Alex. I'm sorry.
Oh, evidence.
I know.
One-liners.
Evidence. Yeah.
So
Did 2 Men Have a Baby?
Oh, evidence.
Isn't there a sitcom called 2 Men and a Baby?
Yeah, that's the whole point.
3 Men, and it was a great movie.
Oh shit! I'm sorry. My bad.
No, but I mean, we're sitting here like, guys, they said it was worse than Pearl Harbor and 9/11. Like Glenn says,
Alex, you're fighting your demons up here. None of us are saying that.
Alex, you pointed out that the votes, they went up way at night. They went up way high. Trump was winning, and then all of a sudden, Biden pulled ahead at like 1 a.m.
Red Mirage.
Yeah. So, but do you understand that the media basically told the American public that this is what happens basically every election?
Yeah, they pre-programmed it, Red Mirage.
No, do you understand?
No, it doesn't happen every election.
Do you understand why that happened?
No, I'm not smart enough to understand. The trucks, when they shut down the polling places, and the trucks pulled in, and they blocked the windows out, and ran the same ballots over and over again.
Let me explain it to you. Donald Trump, for months before the election, he kept saying mail-in ballots are rigged. Don't vote by mail. So do you think that Republicans are going to vote by mail if Trump says not to? So Republicans...
But that's chicken and the egg. Let me finish.
Let me finish, and then you can. Republicans didn't vote by mail because Trump said, it's not safe. Democrats voted by mail. Mail-in votes were counted at the tail end of the vote count, as they always are. So what happens? So Trump pulls ahead early in the night, just like everybody said was going to happen if you were paying attention. They start counting the mail-in votes. Biden's moving up. They start counting more mail-in votes in these states that are in the big cities, which are primarily Democrats. What happens? Biden pulls way ahead in the big cities, just like everybody that was paying attention
Can I talk now?
Can I talk?
Go ahead. That's why they had to all over block the windows out, kick everybody out, claim water mains broke. Let me talk. And then magically on the surveillance cameras, just keep loading the machines over and over again. But you're right.
You actually
let's stop. You're right. No, I agree with you. Trump actually lost. So why are you so scared to let him run again?
I'm not scared to let him run.
So you support him being on the ballot?
I support whatever the Supreme Court says because I think they should define what insurrection is. I think that's fair. I'm not saying I'm on either side. But let's go back to the pulling out votes or tabulating votes multiple times. Did you actually watch more than the 14-second clip that Giuliani put out there where they purportedly pulled out ballots from under the table?
Let me ask you a question.
No.
Why in Michigan and Georgia did they block the windows?
No.
Let me ask you.
I don't know why. Ask them.
Why did they say a water main broke? They later admitted it didn't.
These all went to court. All these were had their day in court. And
let me stop you. Because you guys, hold on, stop.
No, all of them went to court.
Can I say one thing? I'll give you the floor. I'll give you the floor. Let me say one thing.
Go ahead.
Wimp.
I was found guilty by 2 judges in Texas and Connecticut, and then they had a jury trial on how much damages. Trump, they changed the law, has a judge who said at the beginning of the real estate hearing he's guilty. And then Letitia James said in the video, we've already found him guilty. She was so dumb, she said it. We already found him guilty. He's guilty. And then Trump doesn't get a jury trial in New York. So you're pointing to the judiciary and the corrupt lawyers that have run this country down the ground.
Who are you pointing to?
Man.
Wasn't that because his lawyer didn't check the jury trial?
Here's the thing. January, let me say this right now. January 6th, what an insurrection.
Also, the videos that you're referring to, the running the votes multiple times.
The Democrats the violence.
And we're not going to give the Democrats the violence they want in 2024.
But let me tell you, you guys keep looking for one. Once you guys start the fight and launch martial law, you're going to actually get the real thing, and then you'll know what it is.
How long have you been calling for martial law? How many decades now?
Also, all the examples you bring up have literally
been... COVID lockdowns were martial law.
Oh, my God. And they didn't last forever like you guys predicted.
We shut their ass down.
No, you didn't shut down anything.
We beat their fucking ass.
No, the Supreme Court ruled against
Biden won the election and it stopped. Biden won the election and it stopped, so you shut them down. Are you part of Biden?
Let me ask you a question.
No, why are we getting pulled off the Georgia? Why are we getting pulled off the Georgia stuff?
Is Rachel Maddow right?
Why are we talking about COVID right now?
He brought it up. If Biden is Biden right that you take the shot, you're protected. Is that true?
I think what Biden did. I think what Biden did was. Here's what Biden did for the.
Again about the vaccines. Why? Again?
Okay, what happened was Raffensperger and everybody in Georgia looked over all the tapes that you're claiming about, but the ballots being ran 3 times. Not only was that information false, Trump was told that it was false. Trump knew that it was false. Trump repeated it over and over again, including in a call to Raffensperger. And finally, Giuliani has come out saying that it was false, but it was his First Amendment right to lie about it when Ruby Freeman took him to court for defamation because he lied about something you could clearly see on video evidence.
Okay, well, this is a question. Darren, firstly, do you think, if you want to talk about it, if you think the election was rigged or stolen, but also is it protected speech to question an election and claim that it was stolen?
Of course it is.
That's a great question. I subscribe to the sort of rigged versus stolen distinction, and I'm more in the rigged category. And I think that's the more meaningful type of interference is the censorship, is all of the other tools that have been deployed in order to rig the election. I think that's more significant and than the sort of more hyperbolic claims regarding hacking the machines and or so forth. The
claims that Trump was hacking,
these kinds of things.
So then you agree that Trump was wrong when he said it was a stolen election?
Well, it depends what specific claim he's using.
It's a definitional thing.
Let's say when Trump kept pushing that Dominion was switching votes and it cost him Georgia.
That I don't believe in the Dominion stuff.
Yeah, I don't either. It was
a lie.
Trump was lying about it.
Trump was lying about it.
Wrong.
He was lying.
But see, we're intellectually honest here. The point is that the State Department runs around the world looking at everybody else's elections, and the number one thing you get sanctions for is taking a candidate off the ballot. And that's what Democrats doing right now. And America sees that.
The Democrats are not doing it. That's going to go to the courts.
Republicans actually filed
a suit. It's not the Democrats Supreme Court of Colorado. It's not the Democrats Secretary of State in Maine. You just said the Democrats aren't doing it. They are
Colorado, Alex, in Colorado.
God damn, that's a lie.
In Colorado, who filed the suit? 6 people.
Howard.
How many of them were Democrats?
What is this, Democrats?
No. How many were Democrats out of the 6? No, how many?
I know, Liz Cheney's a Republican.
How many were Republicans who filed the suit?
Cheney's a Republican.
5 of the 6 people that filed the suit in Colorado to get Trump off the ballot were Republican. So stop saying Democrat.
Oh, yeah, it's not. Democrats don't want Trump off the ballot.
Glenn's actually responding.
Horseshit.
That's not what happened. What happened is the only people who have standing in Colorado to bring a suit are people who can vote in the Republican primaries, which means either Republican voters or independent voters. Although the suit was brought in their name, the lawsuit was spearheaded and was paid for and was organized by a Democratic Party aligned group called Crew that boasted of this and took credit for it. So yes, the suit was brought in the name.
Yeah, Glenn. We had some audio feedback, Glenn. If you can hear us, we're going to request we had some buzzing, Glenn. I want to make sure that everything you said is clearly heard. So we're going to fix that and then get back to you.
Well, let's go back. Glenn, go ahead and talk again. Let's see.
Let's try it out.
Yeah. Anyway, I don't know how much of that you heard, but what I was saying was that in Colorado,
hey, Glenn, stay there. We're going to have to reconnect with you. I want to hear this. But
so I can say what he's saying. He's saying that it was brought by a Democratic institution, but they needed Republicans.
Not just a Democrat institution; it's a notorious lawfare outfit.
Right, but how many Democratic states said okay, he can stay on the ballot? So they don't just say like every Democrat just once you throw Trump off the ballot.
You're right. The Democrats don't want him off the ballot.
If you were to ask me, I would say let the voters decide. Like
I think other candidates would have a better shot than Trump to beat Biden. I honestly do.
Well, who?
I think Nikki Haley, if she there's no way she would get the nomination.
World War III bird brain.
I think she would defeat Biden. I really do.
We actually have a tweet from Vivek Ramaswamy claiming that the what did he call it? He called it Happy Entrapment Day, talking about January 6th. Do you guys think that it was an entrapment?
100%.
Yep, 100%. Donald Trump entrapped all those poor people to be there.
That's true.
They probably thought he'd bail them out.
That's why
or that he'd pardon them like he did every other person in his campaign that was convicted of any crime.
We want a 10-day investigation. That's why I said be peaceful. Yeah, because Trump was always calling for supporters.
He also called for them to fight like hell, and Giuliani says
fight like hell means for our freedom and our vote and our country.
Okay, and people can say things that they don't mean in order to...
Hey, when you go to a high school football game at a pep rally, and they go, and then the cheerleaders go, fight, 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 fight.
Trial by combat, that doesn't mean anything either.
That's a legal term.
I think the thing that's most instructive, the things that's most instructive to see what Donald Trump wanted to happen that day is that when he sat down and he watched the violence unfolding on TV, when he saw the people fighting with cops, when he got notification that Ashley Babbitt had been shot, Donald Trump did not take steps to stop the violence that day. Instead, him and Giuliani made phone calls to senators and congressmen trying to get them to stall the vote.
What do you guys think ethically about people in politics telling people to go fight? Do you find it to be misleading?
Look, we're not a neutered population. I mean, I have Democrats, in fact, during the impeachment for this, they shut it down when finally Trump put a 5-minute video on of Democrats saying, attack them at grocery stores, attack them at gas stations, attack. We need civil insurrection.
What do we think about the term battleground state?
Yeah.
You know, it's...
The problem is not
typical political rhetoric.
It's the context.
It's not.
Go ahead.
Nobody is upset because Donald Trump said fight like hell. People are upset because for months or years, really even in 2016, Donald Trump has consistently attacked and undermined the electoral process with absolutely no good reason.
No, it's the Democrats said he was a Russian agent.
And
the Democrats falsely said he was a Russian agent and sick the deep state on him for the 4 years of his administration.
That every single appointee that he made, all of his own people were part of any evidence Trump's a Russian agent? No, but that's why he wasn't convicted or charged of any crimes for it.
They were the ones saying that the American voters were manipulated by the Russians.
Was he charged?
They were the ones saying,
Alex, was he charged for the crime for that?
Hillary is
was he
currently
charged for the crime for that?
They tried.
They tried. Wait, but the kangaroo courts, why didn't they just charge him falsely?
They haven't charged for insurrection.
Wait. Why did Jack Smith get to indict, but not for
Trump is going to steal the election?
Why didn't he get an indictment?
Hillary saying Trump's going to steal the election?
Why
is Hillary saying Trump's going to steal the election? Why is Hillary saying Trump's going to
Why wasn't Trump indicted?
Why is Hillary saying Trump's
guys?
Why is Hillary saying Trump's going to steal the election?
I'm about to stand up, just so you know, and that would be good TV. but I'm not going to do it.
Well, he won't stop,
Alex,
and I will dominate.
What we need to do,
and
you don't answer a question.
Guys, what we need to do.
No, I do answer questions.
Listen to me for a moment.
Oh my God.
That we don't speak over each other. What we do is we listen to each other, take turns. It becomes way better.
Well, I have a question.
I agree. Well, can I finish my statement?
Is it okay that Hillary is on TV this week 3 times I saw saying Trump's going to steal the election?
Hillary is.
Why is she allowed to?
Rent free in your head right now. The problem with Trump's speech.
The problem with Trump's speech. Why can Democrats say it, but Republicans can't? You keep trying to change the subject.
I'm not changing the subject.
Hillary shouldn't be saying that. I agree. Hillary shouldn't be saying that. Who is she? She's a private citizen.
But I think you're allowed to say people are going to steal election, whether you're right or wrong.
That's why Trump isn't being charged for it. Trump, you said it yourself. He's not being charged with incitement. He's not being charged with insurrection. But that has nothing to do with him saying a particular thing.
Did Joe Biden try to get the votes certified for Hillary Clinton? Did Hillary Clinton try to force Joe Biden in 2016 to certify the electoral votes?
No, because they knew the landslide was so big.
The Biden had a pretty big landslide.
Wasn't Biden's landslide? Wait, hold on. What do you mean the landslide was so big? Didn't Hillary win the popular vote?
Hillary won the popular vote.
And Biden won by more.
No, the landslide.
The narrative collapsed right before our eyes.
So Trump didn't win the 2016 election.
What?
Trump didn't win.
No, which one?
Both 2016.
He didn't win the popular vote.
Well, with Russian help, right?
He didn't win the popular vote.
No, from the evidence I've seen, he had a huge landslide. They tried to steal it with illegal alien voters, but it's still Trump was so big.
We're not all privy to the election that exists in your head.
I know. There's no illegal aliens.
Don't give us the same type of information. The rest of us on Earth don't get information. We beam down from the mothership. We got to go by what people in reality say. I'm so sorry.
Here we go.
People know you're wrong. The states.
You're not privy to the action that exists in your head. That was nice.
Well, the illegals are getting more. California just got 6 more congressional seats.
Stand up, Ian. We need you to come up and rise up. There it is.
I'm tied down.
There's no invasion. There's no border.
You guys think that there was federal involvement here? Or if there was, that what the extent of it was on January 6th?
I think that there were probably federal agents undercover. Do I think that federal agents committed crimes and led people into the Capitol building? Absolutely not. And there hasn't been any case brought by any of these 700 convicts. None of them brought that up in court. Because
they're being prosecuted in the District of Columbia.
Because there's no evidence of it.
No, I know the lawyers.
Absolutely no evidence of it.
They won't let them put defenses on. Let me tell you something. Alex, they said Ray Epps was a hero and did nothing wrong. Now they finally indicted him because they know it's a weak spot in their operation. They're only asking for 6 months. Let me tell you, we're not playing clips for tit for tat here, but I want everybody on X to get these statements and put all the clips of women putting onions in their eyes and the cops fake arresting people and high-fiving and saying, I'm a federal agent, I just helped run the attack. They're going to string all these videos out.
So here's the thing.
Fake arresting.
Like Brian said, there's probably some informants on the ground. I think one of the Proud Boys, one of the ladies in the Proud Boy was an informant. So she was on the ground. She didn't go into the Capitol building, I don't believe. The problem is with what Alex does is he pushes these conspiracy theories, these ideas that illegal aliens were voting. There's no evidence of that.
I think the illegal alien voting thing is what's happening is they're coming in and then they're being counted in the census, which then adds more electoral votes to.
Okay,
it gives more congressional districts.
That's fair. That might be happening. I haven't researched.
There are indictments all over the country.
They're not voting.
Indictments of illegals everywhere voting. Got them again. Hit them hard. Hit them hard.
They're not voting.
They're not voting.
Got them again.
2 people.
No, a bunch of cities have passed laws where illegal aliens can vote.
No, they haven't.
No,
not in the federal elections.
No, but the illegals are voting in elections though.
Not in the federal ones. So I know that some cities try to have them voting in like local matters. I don't know how many of those are successful.
Illegal aliens shouldn't be voting, okay? But they're not. They're not voting in federal elections.
I don't know why you would care, though. Why would you even care? I don't know why you would care about.
There are going to be 100 million views of you guys. X is going to eat you guys alive.
Glad. I can't wait for it.
I don't know why you care about illegals voting when you think Trump can just flip the whole election anyway. Who cares? You can just ask Pence to throw it all out and do whatever.
I never said I thought Trump could flip the election.
Oh, do you think it was okay when he asked Pence to do it?
I already told you 5 times. I think that was a bad theory.
I didn't say it was a bad theory. Do you think it was allowed? Do you think it was an attempted coup? Do you think you can ask the vice president to unilaterally determine the outcome of the election?
No. Trump was exploring every option. The main thing he wanted was a 10-day investigation.
No, Trump wanted Pence to throw out the election to declare him the winner.
Imagine if Trump would say, like, I don't believe Joe Biden can be on the ballot. Imagine if federal judges
and that will go to court, and the courts can decide that.
What would Republicans be doing right now?
Biden hasn't said that. Biden hasn't said that. States
if Republicans
Trump spent 4 years saying Obama shouldn't go on the ballot. I mean, what do you want to say?
If Republicans were trying to take Joe Biden off the ballot right now, what would you say?
Let the Supreme Court decide.
Depends on how they're trying to do it.
Even the conservative Supreme Court, I'd say let them decide.
Glenn Greenwald.
Yeah, we should. But Darren, you've been.
Don't Republicans have an impeachment committee right now? Going to the House
Darren, what's on your brain right now?
Isn't that trying to remove?
What's on your brain?
Well, I can attempt to answer the question about
the brain.
Federal involvement, because my reporting at Revolver News is largely responsible for changing the national conversation in that direction.
And notice they first threatened to sue you. I'm going to leave it a minute. Take a piss. They first threatened to sue you. Now they've indicted Epps. You've been vindicated.
Yeah, in fact, I have a video. This is about Ray Epps. You just mentioned, Alex. It's clip number 3, and it's about 25 seconds long. We're going to play this, and then, Darren, I want to hear what you're about to say.
Okay.
Tomorrow, we need to go into the Capitol. Into the Capitol. What? No! Peacefully. Fed. Tomorrow?
I mean, they did go.
I don't even like to say it because I'll be arrested. Well, let's not say it. We need to go. I'll say it. All right. We need to go in.
Shut the fuck up, Boomer.
To the Capitol.
Oh, well, wait. Ray Epps didn't do anything because he said peacefully at the end, right? We can move past him.
He did say no, he said go into the Capitol.
He said peacefully.
Well, so what? It's still illegal to go into the Capitol.
But I thought peacefully was the operative word. Yeah, I thought peacefully made it all okay.
No, going in is illegal. Trump didn't say storm the Capitol. He didn't say go into the Capitol.
He's going to get 6 months in prison. So
no, I mean, you guys want to hear the argument for federal involvement or not?
Go for it. Yeah.
Not really.
Okay.
I want to hear it.
All right. Well, there's a lot of dimensions to it. We can start with the Ray Epps issue. Here's a guy, you saw that was only part of the clip. There's much longer clips about Ray Epps. But here's a guy who's the only guy caught on camera as early as January 5th, repeatedly calling for people to go into the Capitol and prefacing his seemingly rehearsed remarks in each case, saying, I'm probably going to go to jail for this. I'm probably going to go get arrested for this. You need to go into the Capitol. The next day, he flew across the whole country, presumably to go hear Trump's speech. He skipped Trump's speech. Instead, he was a veritable Where's Waldo everywhere on January 6th, directing people, go into the Capitol. It's in that direction. That's where our problems are. Then, amazingly, he's pre-positioned right at that initial decisive breach point on the west perimeter of the Capitol, and he's whispering into somebody's ear just seconds before the bike racks are broken through. He texts his nephew, I orchestrated it. On paper, think about it. He's like a 6'3", former Marine who was wearing camo gear and a Trump hat, and he just happens to have had a leadership position in the Oath Keepers, the most demonized and heavily prosecuted.
He used to, right? He doesn't. He didn't anymore.
The most demonized and heavily prosecuted militia group associated with January 6th. And the regime doesn't touch him. However, initially, his behavior was considered to be so egregious, he was one of the first 20 people added to the FBI's most wanted list about January 6th. He was prominently featured in the New York Times' ominously titled Day of Rage. Of all the clips the New York Times could have found and chosen, they chose Ray Epps to represent their thesis that this was a pre-planned insurrection to storm the Capitol. And then when the discussion of federal involvement came into being, one of our major pieces at Revolver News, literally the next day is when the FBI quietly removed him from their list. And all of a sudden, he went from FBI's most wanted and featured in the New York Times' Day of Rage to New York Times does a fully dedicated puff piece on him. 60 Minutes does a sympathy segment on him. He's the only January 6th participant that Adam Kinzinger, who's never met a Trump supporter he doesn't want to see rotting in jail for 50 years, that Adam Kinzinger will defend more aggressively than Epps' own lawyers. And now, almost 3 years after, the government finally says, okay, we're going to hit you with a wrist slap misdemeanor, as though people are so simple-minded to think, well, if the argument is hasn't been indicted, therefore he's a Fed, if we indict him now, even if it's a misdemeanor, even 3 years after, no matter what the circumstances, this constitutes a refutation and totally wipes away the mountains of suspicious evidence surrounding the character of Ray Epps. That's just the case of Epps. There are many other things.
Can I just touch on that real quick? So you mentioned a few things I want to touch on. So you talked about how he whispered in somebody's ear and moments later that guy went in the Capitol. That was Mr. Samsel.
Yep, that's right.
And Mr. Samsel actually testified under oath. I believe he was convicted. He said that Epps actually told him, calm down, the police are on our side.
Well, he's changed his story.
Okay,
I wouldn't rest.
Did you write the original Revolver article?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I set aside 3 days to go over Ray Epps stuff, and it took me 6 hours to see. It was one of the stupidest conspiracies I've ever seen in my entire life.
So the other thing I just want to
go for it real quick.
So you said that he didn't get convicted and he didn't get charged until
3 years later.
Okay, so the people who were charged with anything but misdemeanors were people who used violence and people who went into the House chamber where the joint session was, and the people who were involved in a seditious conspiracy. It had to be a conspiracy. Ray Epps acted alone here.
Well, no, I wouldn't. That's an open question.
As far as we can see, he acted alone. Anything else beyond that would just be a conspiracy theory. So he falls into the same category.
Well, seditious conspiracy is technically a conspiracy theory. It doesn't mean that it's not true, right?
Seditious conspiracy is a charge. A conspiracy theory is
a theory of the case.
A theory that there is a conspiracy that took place. So he doesn't fall into any category that any of the other protesters fall in because he didn't fall into any of those three categories. So he got charged with a misdemeanor. Other people, the conspiratists, the people who used violence, and the people who went into the House chamber are the ones who were charged with felonies.
For the Ray Epps stuff, if you look at his story from start to finish, it is incredibly obvious. The guy is a boomer. The guy was a huge Trump supporter.
No,
he used to be part of the Oath Keepers a while before. That's what he testified to under oath. He used to be part of the Oath Keepers years earlier than he'd left. I think it was the Arizona chapter. Ray Epps
was the head of the Arizona chapter.
That's fine. Ray Epps went to the march. You said he skipped the speech. Tons of people were listening to the speech on cell phones and other things and broadcasting to other people. Ray Epps was outside the speech. There's on video, I know, because you posted in your article with him literally telling people, "Let's go. We're marching to the Capitol."
That was before the speech.
Sure, yeah, but he's out to the ellipse where
he's telling people in advance of the speech we need to go to the Capitol because somehow he got it in his mind that everything would end up at the Capitol.
I'm pretty sure he's doing it in his. As Trump is making the speech, not before the speech has begun.
No,
it's when he's directing
he began
people.
Before the speech began. There are timestamps on the video.
Then you can go back and watch it on the Revolver story is up there. For every single thing that you assert about him, that he's in video whispering into a guy's ear, you say it in the rest of your article. All he's doing on the day of when the protesting is getting violent is going up and down telling people, "Don't fight with the cops. Don't fight with the cops. The cops are on our side." That's what he's saying the entire time. The idea that he said that the entire day, but the one guy whose ear that he whispered into, that unfortunately we don't have audio capture of, that he and Samsel testified to, is he said, "Hey, the cops are on our side," or "the cops aren't enemies." They both say something to that effect. And that seems to synergize with everything else he said on that day. You go on to say that guy immediately after was the one that broke down the fence. No, he's not. You can see like 15 people right next to him that are all trying to break down the fence. Yeah, the guy goes in eventually. But if we truly believe that this guy is a federal agent or is working to instigate the riot, we've laid out absolutely nothing supporting that. Just some video footage of another boomer being at the rally.
No.
That was there. If you want to say that, why was he removed from the FBI list? I mean, why was he removed from the FBI list? Like, all of the information is out there. He said that after his video was identified and people on X started to identify him, and then because all of his online stuff is incredibly easy to find, he started to get phone calls, he started to get harassed, he started to get threats. So he called the FBI as soon as this was brought to his attention, and he told the FBI, "Hey, this was me, and here I am, and this is what's happening." And the FBI took him off the list.
No,
you want to claim
wrong.
That there was some...
Your timeline is wrong. He called the FBI
when he saw himself in the videos.
Wrong.
Yeah, a friend told him about it, and that's what he said. That's what he testified.
He called the FBI very shortly after January 6th because of his picture being on the most wanted list. He wasn't taken off the most wanted list until the middle part of 2021. There were multiple months span between him calling the FBI in the first instance and being quietly removed.
That's not true.
Yes, it is.
No, that's not true.
Well, I mean,
I can tell you why it's not true, okay? Because what you did, because I read your article, is you looked at 2 archived versions of the website and you didn't have a 12-month archive. For some reason, you assumed that the recent snapshot that you took at 2021, you think that was the first time the page has been changed. That was just the first time the page has been archived. Well, I don't think the FBI has made a statement on it, but what Epps testified to was that he either saw a video of himself or a friend saw a video of himself or a friend saw him on the list where people were making videos, and then he called the FBI and he said, hey, I need to talk to you and this is what's going on. If he was a Fed, why would they remove him from the list when everybody's clearly looking at the list? He was like one of the only people removed. Why would senators be defending him so vigilantly? Why wouldn't...
That's a great question. Why was he quietly removed right when the question of federal involvement became a major part of the national conversation? And let me just... I don't want to get lost in these weeds. I just want to say something quickly. So you're saying, he said, we need to go into the Capitol peacefully. And you point out correctly that in many instances caught on video, he's engaged in what you could call de-escalation of the crowd, and he's not urging people to violence. That's all correct. I never said he's urging people to violence. He was absolutely a provocateur, and his mission, as stated and as implemented and as orchestrated by his own verbatim text, was he wanted people to go into the Capitol peacefully.
That might be the case. Wait, that might be the case. And if that's all you're saying,
it's not all. No, that's everything. That's everything.
Nobody here is saying that he didn't say that and he didn't want people to do that. But the claim is that there's some sort of...
That's illegal.
That's fine. And he could be charged for it. Do you think anybody here care if he gets charged for that crime? The issue is you're saying that he was doing it under the direction of a federal agency.
Yeah,
that the 6'3" guy that looks like he's dying of type 2 diabetes and arthritis is somehow some intimidating Marine captain that's sending people into the Capitol. That was your claim that you've provided zero evidence for, and you don't in either of the articles that you write about him.
We've got Glenn back on the horn. And Glenn, we've been talking about Ray Epps. We played a video. I'm not sure if you saw it.
Glenn, not Glenn Beck.
Did I say Glenn?
Greenwald.
Greenwald.
The other
Thanks, Glenn. That's so funny, Glenn.
They're hard to tell the difference between nowadays. Right?
Yeah, Glenn has been very patient. We should hear from Glenn Greenwald.
That's so funny. What's happening, dude?
Well, I only heard the last 4 minutes of the conversation, but I'm still always amazed by, I really don't understand the argument, because the FBI and the U.S. security state before January 6th was saying that they regard the greatest threat to national security not as being ISIS or Al Qaeda or Hamas or Hezbollah or China or any other foreign threat. They regard the greatest threat as being right-wing domestic extremists, in whom that was included on many lists: the Oath Keepers, the 3%ers, and all of the people in the groups that they said orchestrated January 6th. Is the argument that you think that the FBI was not monitoring and infiltrating those groups? Because there's actually a ton of evidence that the FBI had their hooks in all 3 of those groups, and not only had their hooks in them, but on January 6th had informants on the ground who were pretending to be Trump supporters who were talking in real time to the FBI about everything that was happening. So I just want to understand what the claim is. Is the claim that the FBI was not involved in the groups that organized January 6th and didn't have informants with them that day?
They weren't instigating. That's your claim.
It came out that the vice president of the Oath Keepers was an FBI informant. The Proud Boys had at least 3 and as many as 8. And the New York Times itself reported that there were FBI informants in the Proud Boys who were inside the Capitol texting their handlers as the event unfolded.
So they recorded the garage. They recorded the garage meeting the day before, and the Fed said to the court nothing was said violent or no planning.
Yeah. Brian, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, so I'm just confused. So you're saying that Ray Epps was actually a federal agent who was indicted, who pled guilty, and is likely going to get 6 months in prison? Is that your argument?
Well, the New York Times protected.
Well, wait. So about Epps, so couple of things there.
Burn notice.
You don't find it a little bit strange?
Wait.
I'll get to you. I promise you. I promise you I'll address that. But let's just consider the context. The context in the immediate aftermath of January 6th, by the words of Steve Sherwin, who is in charge of the prosecution.
God. This is gonna take another 1.5 hours.
Their posture was one of quote unquote shock and awe. They were going after everyone. They were hitting them very hard. Now, again, think about central casting. On paper, Ray Epps, he's the 6'3" former Marine in camouflage gear with a Trump hat, The only guy caught on video as early as the 5th telling people to go into the Capitol, who's there on the 6th directing
FBI
people to the
agent.
Capitol, who's right there pre-positioned at that initial breach phase. And this
helping ram signs.
Exactly. And he happens to be a former head of the Oath Keepers. And you're not telling me it's bizarre? Wait a second. You're not telling me it's at least a little bit bizarre that
Suspicious.
of all January 6th participants, he's the only one who gets a New York Times puff piece. He's the only one who gets a 60 minutes sympathy segment. He's the only one that Adam Kinzinger will defend.
So are you saying that New York Times is now working with the feds, working with Ray Epps to?
100%.
Yes. No, as a matter of
The
fact,
question
yes.
is, why do you think? Wait. Why do you think they all wrote those articles?
Why did they say there were WMDs in Iraq? Because they're told to.
So going back.
No, wait. Why did they write those articles? Why don't you say that part? Why did they write those articles?
I want to address your question directly. You're saying if he were an asset, and by the way, I'm not definitive in the sense that, I don't think he was working directly for the FBI. I don't even know if he was directly working for the federal government. He was an asset. He was acting on behalf of a third party. He was not an authentic actor on that day. That I will say with a great deal of confidence. But wait a second.
You mentioned all those
victory. Let me say one thing. I've been gone for 10 minutes. It's a victory. They went from saying he's an angel, CNN, MSNBC, New York Times. He's perfectly now. Because of pressure, they've been forced to indict him.
Alex, quick thing on that. The criminal complaint acknowledges that he engaged in quote unquote felonious behavior. But among the mitigating factors that they cite is, this poor guy was a victim of all these conspiracy theories, which is pretty remarkable.
He was, though. He was.
I want to address
They didn't do that for any of the other people.
Why don't you answer? Why were people writing?
I want to just quickly answer the question about your question. Basically, if he was an asset, why did they go after their own asset? Why would they indict their own asset? That happens all the time. In fact, that's almost the norm. That ultimately, when the assets,
when they have undercover people, they'll indict them just as a cover.
When the assets become liabilities, they indict them. In fact, we don't have to go too far into the past to get a case of that. There is the Michigan Fednapping case, or the Michigan kidnapping case, where there is the informant, Steve Robeson, who was a long-time, over decade-long informant, who was part of the entrapment scheme in Michigan case with striking parallels to January 6th, by the way. And he, when he became inconvenient, was indicted by the government. There's so many
breaking
cases.
the law,
I think
for actually breaking the law.
We need a better argument.
I just want to get my point in really fast. I haven't been able to get my point in. So you're saying that Ray Epps is a federal agent.
Well, I didn't say that. I said he was acting on behalf of a third party. He was an inauthentic actor on January 6th.
Even though there's no evidence of this. And then you're saying he's turning around and he's suing Fox News for defamation, which is going to open up all sorts of cans of worms with Discovery that he's going to have to provide legally in front of a court. You think that if he was a federal agent, he'd be suing Fox News for defamation?
They know they control the jurisdiction, but he did say in a text message that day during, and I orchestrated the
federal
attack.
agent was behind
you think he's going to sue for defamation?
He's going
to sue for defamation.
He was bragging to his nephew that
he orchestrated it all, working for the New York Times.
But he was there.
And he said, I orchestrated
it.
To his nephew.
To his nephew.
Well, it's a nephew.
Why did a federal agent text such incriminating evidence to his nephew?
Why wasn't he indicted before? We made him the centerpiece. They had congressional hearings. He was all over the news. They were forced to do it thanks to Tucker.
Because the nephew is also a Confederate. The nephew is also an agent. There you go. Boom.
Carlson and Professor Darren Beatty's work.
Wait. Why do you trust Tucker Carlson when he said he lied to you? Tucker Carlson said Sidney Powell was crazy. Tucker Carlson left Fox News because he didn't believe the election fraud claims that he was being forced to push on TV because of Trump. Why would you trust Tucker Carlson of all people?
Tucker early on thought it was wrong. Now he says he was wrong about that. Now he says he thinks the election was
crazy. So when the lawsuit goes away, when his lawsuit goes away, the answers change.
Listen, whether you're right or wrong, you have a right to question the elections. The Democrats do all the time.
No one wants to take that right from you.
Brian, you were saying?
Yes.
Can I say something here? Because I think
Glenn Greenwald. Glenn, go ahead.
The whole context for this conversation is, again, I mean, you just keep going back to it because it's so easy to see. People have this idea of the FBI, like, they don't do this sort of thing. Earlier, I think it was Ed who said, wait, why would the New York Times run a puff piece? Do you think they're working with the FBI? Like, that idea to him is so different.
I didn't say that. It was me.
No idea what history of the FBI in this country. They have no idea that the FBI throughout the entire war on terror did this over and over. They would target and entrap all sorts of vulnerable Muslims to engage in plots that the FBI created in order to create a narrative that the FBI was needed because there was a much bigger threat of Islamic terrorism than there actually was. The FBI has been infiltrating and then using provocateurs to encourage groups to commit crimes so that the FBI can gain more power, can spread this narrative. You have to be incredibly naive or only paying attention to the news since 2016 and thinking Donald Trump is the only issue, not to understand that this is what the FBI has been doing for decades. And so to have this like...
The only issue, so are you saying Donald Trump is an issue? Wait, hold on. If you're saying that Donald Trump is not the only issue, you're saying that Donald Trump is an issue.
Naive attitude, like, oh, was the New York Times working with the FBI? That is what the media in this country has been doing.
But you have no evidence of it. You're making it. You're just making theories up.
By the way, if I can just add a nice little colorful detail there, the author of the Ray Epps puff piece that asked none of the questions that would get to the core of his involvement there. It's a total puff piece. You can read it yourself. The author of that, his previous work includes the CIA authorized account of the Sinaloa cartel.
Yeah,
so
the idea of the New York Times, let me say something. The idea that the New York Times is doing cleanup work for the deep state is insane. What Glenn Greenwald was saying is key. I remember the New York Times headline. They can pull it up in there. We're not showing videos or clips. It would be too much here. I remember the New York Times headline like 15 years ago, 97% of Islamic terror plots were hatched and run by the FBI. That was the headline.
We're getting so far
including
away from
the first
point,
World Trade Center bombing, by the way, which is...
Alex, just one really quick thing. You said Ray Epps was one of the last to be charged. He isn't the last to be charged. There's 1,200 people that have been charged. 1,250, I believe.
Who said he's the last to be charged?
Alex said they waited 3 years.
Yeah, they waited 3 years.
Do you realize that they're still indicting people and they expect that they're probably going to...
They had puff pieces. He was on ABC.
Let me finish my point, Alex. And
God.
So do you realize that they're still indicting people? There's likely going to be hundreds of people still indicted. Ray Epps didn't get any less a sentence than anybody else that did anything like it.
Well, first of all, they could have hit him with far more serious charges than they did.
He addressed me.
What would the charge be?
Let me respond.
That's an interesting question. What charge do you recommend? What charge would have been a fair charge?
May I respond to what you said?
Yeah, let Alex respond, and then I want to hear Darren's response.
My God. The man is like a chicken with his head cut off for 3 days, including the day of the event, running around saying, go in the Capitol. He's ramming signs into people. He testifies, I orchestrated this attack.
He did not testify.
And then that was the Jan 6 committee. They asked about this text message. He said, I did that.
The text. He didn't testify that he orchestrated.
No, he testified to the Jan 6 committee.
That he sent the message to his nephew.
No, he testified to the Jan.
That he orchestrated it to the Jan 6 committee?
You keep interrupting because you can't. I'm
not telling the truth.
I'm Michael Jordan slamming on you. And what's going to happen is everybody's going to get this clip.
Yep.
He testified to the Jan 6 committee. They said, is this your text message?
Yes.
He said, yes. I told my nephew I orchestrated it. Now stop. Let me finish my point.
Okay.
Stop.
Thank you for being honest with us.
You keep honest. He said I orchestrated it. You keep acting like
he testified that he said to his nephew that he said that.
Yes. In a text message.
Okay, there you go.
And he did orchestrate
it. He did testify. So the point is, you keep acting like my victory is a failure.
Wait, where's the evidence that he orchestrated it? I'd love to see that.
He said it.
But to his nephew. I text my friends things all the time that are embellishments.
Because you guys, let me finish my point. They're all over every major corporate channel saying this poor little baby. They're saying he was a Fed or an operative or a provocateur for some NGO. He didn't do anything wrong. And when it got so obvious, they finally indicted him with a slap on the wrist. And then you're sitting here saying he didn't testify. He just testified. Whoa.
No, he said he didn't testify that he orchestrated it. He testified that he sent that text to his nephew.
Then he orchestrated it.
But no, then they asked him, Alex, then they asked him if he actually orchestrated it. What was his answer?
In the transcript, he said...
it wasn't that he orchestrated it.
So if I send somebody a message saying a bank is robbed, I robbed the bank.
Have you ever embellished a text message to anybody that you know? Like you, like maybe not you. I can't see you doing that, but maybe.
Actually, I'm kind of an understated kind of guy.
Alex, you started bringing up a good point. If I send a text message saying I robbed the bank, can I get charged with robbing a bank if I didn't do it?
if they got evidence. He's there.
Exactly. They need the evidence.
And it's not like he's there saying go into the building.
They need
it's
the
not
evidence,
like he's there saying go into the and ramming signs. You're right. He's not there saying go in for 3 days. He's not there ramming signs. You're right. Ray Epps is innocent. He's not there ramming signs.
Can we get back to my question?
Not innocent. You asked a question.
So my question.
You guys are indefensible.
My question is, what should Ray Epps have been charged with? What law did he break that instead of what he was charged with? I think was obstructing the proceeding.
Let me respond.
No, he was not charged with that. That's the interesting thing.
He was charged with.
He was not charged with obstruction of an official proceeding, which would have been a very easy charge and a fairly typical felony charge given to. Exactly. So wait. Let me answer this comprehensively. So first of all, it's extremely strange given how conspicuous and egregious and concentrated his behavior was that he somehow was able to avoid the obstruction of official proceeding charge. Number one. Number two, there are even more serious charges they could have given him. In fact, in the series of videos that we put out, there's one specific exchange he had with another guy. He said, when we go in, leave this here. We don't want to get shot. The when we go in, leave this here, he's referring to that individual's bear spray. That individual ends up going into the Capitol, committing violence and doing a whole bunch of other things. And this is a bizarre case because this guy, who is super egregious, has to this day not fully been charged. His case hasn't even gone to a district judge yet.
So the obstruction case.
So let me give you a sense. Let me give you a sense. Because when we're evaluating these things, we have to compare them to standards applied to others.
Let me stop you. You'll go next.
Stop.
Owen Schroyer, I've known him 8 years. He's a badass guy that helps disabled children. And is literally like a super good person. No criminal issues in his life other than protesting. He is with me saying, don't go in. They charge him, and in the charging documents say, Owen's lying. He doesn't work for InfoWars. That's in the charging documents. The sentencing documents, the judge says, I'm putting you in these months in federal prison because you just questioned the election again and gave 3 examples of where he did it. So Owen spends months in a federal prison.
Why don't you talk about the deferred agreement that he had in 2019?
No, I agree. I will. Code Pink runs around and protesting. He put tape over his mouth when they were letting leftists run around and throw red paint in Congress. And they said, sir, you can't do that.
And he agreed that he wouldn't do it. And he did.
And then he didn't protest. He went there to cover it as a journalist.
He was in a restricted area, though.
No, he was on. Listen, Ray Epps has not spent. Listen. Owen is there with me saying, don't go in. He agreed he would not protest. He was there saying, don't go in the Capitol. And you're not going to defend him going to prison.
But he pled guilty to everything that he got charged with.
Because it's a rigged D.C. court.
Or he.
You laughed because that happened to you yet.
Or you could explain.
It's funny because the problem is on our side. We've got testimony under oath. We've got judicial rulings. We've got jury trials. We've got full videos.
Everybody's got the video.
We have all of these. We have all of these pieces of evidence.
And you say
I can't finish a single statement.
Let Stephen continue.
Yeah. The problem is.
Let me tell you something. My reporter deserves to go to jail for being there and trying to keep people going to the building.
He had a deferment. He pled guilty.
Yeah.
He did it.
What do you do in a rigged D.C. court?
Fight your case.
Oh,
yeah. Innocent fight. If you have evidence that you're innocent, fight. But there was no evidence because he broke the agreement that he signed, and then he pled guilty and said, I broke the agreement that I signed, and agreed to the sentence that the sentencing guidelines.
And Trump shouldn't be able to run for office.
Also, this entire argument has been you, again, arguing for an insurrection, for rebellion. All we have, everything we have over here is actual testimony under oath, actual judicial rulings, actual rulings by judges, actual rulings by Supreme Court. I can't finish. I have to be able to finish. I got to be able to finish. Well, I got to be able to finish. Yeah. Okay. We can provide these arguments. We can provide the evidence. We can provide the testimony. And all you do is go, oh, well, I don't trust the courts. Oh, well, I don't trust statements made under oath. Hasn't the FBI done this in the past? You can skirt by providing hard evidence. I got to be able to finish one thing.
You know how much a criminal...
You can skirt by.
Said, why do you do it?
You can skirt by providing any hard evidence for literally a single claim that you've made today. There hasn't been any evidence provided to support any of the claims made today. And you are hand brushing away every single other claim that's made, literally testified under oath by people that were loyal to Trump, by people that Trump trusted over and over again. And at the end of the day, like, what could you possibly be advocating for besides an insurrection? I can't even finish a thing.
You just said,
I think it's because when I talk, you get really afraid. I actually respect. I appreciate that.
You just said,
I understand. Okay.
You just said, when I defended Owen, you just said, here you are advocating for insurrection again. Exact quote. A guy saying, don't go in the Capitol as a reporter, and you don't even stand up for the First Amendment. Or
you don't trust the court? Do you trust the courts?
I don't think most Americans do, and that's when you have real revolutions.
If you don't trust the court, real revolution, what do we do in a real revolution?
Hey, listen, we're not trying to go there right now.
We are there right now. We just were. It's January 6th.
Listen,
if there was any time to go there,
don't worry.
Don't touch me. Listen.
If there is one,
where would you?
If there is one, you're going to lose.
Sure.
Buddy.
Okay. We'll see. Okay. Didn't like 4 people dying on January 6th from obesity and meth? If these are the people we have to fight, I think we'll be okay.
Ashley Babbitt, you're dehumanizing her? Was she on meth?
I don't think she was one of the 4 that died from meth. She died from the gunshot.
No, did she deserve to be shot?
She was trying to climb into an area where federal agents were saying, if you climb in here, I'm going to shoot you.
Federal gods?
Federal
if
gods?
It was your house,
I'm sorry, do federal agents not have the right to shoot people?
So you would have pulled the trigger on her. You like that?
If I was one of the federal agents there and I thought it was appropriate to do so,
Their job is to protect the people inside.
Do I like that? No, you guys were the ones cheering on the other side of that.
All right, I think
I was cheering.
We got a little derailed.
You guys were cheering for it the entire time.
Talking about Owen, we got a little.
Wait, I want to know, what do we do if we don't trust the courts? We don't trust the courts. We don't trust the president.
Hey, does Julian Assange deserve to be in prison?
I'm not here to talk about Julian Assange or the rest of your friends, okay? Tell me, what do we do if we don't trust? There's a reason he won't answer the question. The reason why is because he answers rebellion and insurrection. There's a reason why they marched.
We are going to get back.
Moderator.
Who was there peacefully and said, don't go in. And he said, you're defending insurrection. Everybody's going to play that quote. That's not true.
Okay, I think, and you know what, I agree. I think claiming that is a defense of insurrection is different. You were defending maybe Owen?
Yes.
Okay. Now, I want to get back to Darren because there was a question that was, we took a tangent. And also, Glenn, I think you look like you were about to say something. So if you wanted to speak first.
Yeah, go ahead, let Darren go ahead first on just to close the Ray thing, but I do want to say something as well about what I've been hearing.
I'm fine.
What charges do you think he should have gotten?
Oh, I think he could and should have gotten far more serious charges. The first example is the easiest and most readily available, obstruction of official proceeding, which is basically the standard charge for people who've done far less egregious things than
No, but it really isn't, though, because the only people charged with that, I believe, are the people who went into the House chamber.
No.
The people that walked through the Capitol did not get charged with that.
First of all, that's not the case. And second of all, that's not an ironclad law.
Google that.
That's not an ironclad law pertaining to the application of that charge. Secondly, there's a far more serious conspiracy charge that the government had available to them if we use the standards that they've applied in similar January 6 cases.
Yeah, he was way worse than Joe Biggs or Stuart Rhodes. I mean, he's literally, we're Stuart Rhodes saying invade the Capitol. We're Stuart Rhodes attacking people or ramming signs. Ray Epps did that.
Stuart Rhodes literally said that if Trump doesn't impose the Insurrection Act, that we need an insurrection. And he said, storm the Capitol. And he went into the Capitol and he hurt police officers.
Didn't he?
He did not go to the Capitol.
He called for people
Joe Biggs did. Joe Biggs went into the Capitol.
You just said
Joe Biggs or Stuart Rhodes. Either Joe Biggs or Stuart Rhodes.
Stuart Rhodes did not do that.
No, one of them, I forget which one it
Joe
was.
Biggs.
He said that.
Yeah, Joe Biggs.
No, you don't even know what I'm going to say.
He deserves a year in jail. He doesn't deserve.
You don't know what I'm going to say, though. One of them called for people to defend the White House and shoot to kill the National Guard.
Let me just answer really quickly.
By the way,
let me say something.
Stuart Rhodes did say that on air, and I told him he was wrong to his face. So I'm going to be honest.
Wait a second. One thing.
Before it happened, he did say if Trump calls us out for a civil war, and I was like, dude, I'm not for this on air.
One thing,
you're right. That's
very quickly.
I agree. There's a lot of rhetoric on both sides.
You wanted an example of somebody who didn't go into the Capitol who got obstruction of the official proceeding?
Yeah.
Thomas Caldwell. That's one of many.
What did he do? I'm not familiar.
Well, I'm going to be honest. Stuart Rhodes did say what he just said.
So
you guys confused that Ed O'Brien over there. I'm sorry.
You put that. So if you put that together with.
No, I get there was some rhetoric. Right. It was dangerous.
So I mean, if you put that together with the planning, him and Biggs were planning on two different ends. One Oath Keepers, one.
There's no proof they planned it.
Well, if you look at the telegram messages,
an undercover agent recorded the conversation in the garage.
But have you looked at the telegram messages where they're basically instructing people where to go and where they're at, and that
we're playing a video game
saying, "Hey, we stormed the Capitol. We took the Capitol."
Yeah, there's no doubt there was LARPing without Trump's directives of some people talking about that.
All right,
wait, why don't we trust their messages, but we do trust Ray Epps bragging to his nephew that he orchestrated?
Good point.
Well, no, I just said they were talking about it.
We're going to go. Yeah, Glenn.
She is being honest.
Let's let Glenn finish this one off, because then I have another question for you guys.
Yeah, the whole thing, like listening to them, honestly, it's like listening. I don't mean to be insulting. I'm just saying this, it's what it sounds like 7th graders who learn civics class and have this understanding of how the US government works. Like, oh, the FBI investigate and they discover crimes, and then they go to the courts, and the courts are very honest, and the courts are apolitical, and the courts make rulings, and everything that has happened in January 6th, and you can even look at the people.
Oh yeah, because when you're not a 7th grader, you'll believe conspiracy theories about the court being crooked.
Well, they picked and chose who to expand the law. The people who ended up getting prosecuted on felony counts, even though they were nonviolent, had these incredibly novel interpretations of law that were used against them to turn nonviolent demonstration and nonviolent political protest into felony by taking this post-Enron law and giving it a stretched meaning that it never had before. And the reason so many of them plead guilty is because they know that if they go into court, they're going to have rulings against them, because a lot of these judges, especially in Washington, are not only Democratic Party judges, but the entire system is furious to watch people go and put their feet up on Nancy Pelosi's desk. So the entire system decided that this has to be punished regardless of what the law provides. You had the FBI with their hooks inside all of these groups, but I do understand that if you believe in this story of American propaganda, that the FBI is these upstanding law enforcement people, and they don't do that, and then the courts go and make rulings, then you're going to end up with this image of what the three of them have, which is this idea that this was one of the worst attacks in American history. The courts have ruled. Everything the government did in this case is consistent with their longstanding view before January 6th, that these groups are criminal groups. They need to be criminalized. Trump's movement is a threat to the United States, and the entire part of January 6th was designed to define them as an insurrectionary movement so that they could criminalize them, which is exactly what they're doing.
809. I want to respond to Glenn real quick.
Owen didn't have the money for a criminal trial.
890 convictions or guilty pleas, 2 acquittals, 2. 890 to 2. So is that? Go ahead, Glenn.
Were accused of violence.
They're not convicted of insurrection.
I believe 170 or so were for violent acts.
Illegal parading.
Exactly, a tiny number, a small percentage.
Yeah, and the Supreme Court is, and they should be.
You got to make.
Let Glenn talk. Go ahead.
Understand that usually what happens in the United States with nonviolent protesters, or even with violent protesters, is they don't get charged with anything. A tiny percentage of people who use violence throughout all of the Black Lives Matter protests ended up in jail because the ideology in which they were protesting was one that was considered positive and friendly by the institutions of authority. They were on the side of Black Lives Matter. They didn't prosecute that. The Trump movement and the right-wing extremists, as the government calls them, are considered enemies of the state, and that was why the entire law enforcement mechanisms were distorted.
If you want to actually make these,
let me just back up Glenn briefly, and I'll shut up.
Let me finish.
I'll take a 5-minute break.
One second. Well, let me finish. It's not the same to compare Black Lives Matter protesters and protesters who entered the Capitol building during the certification of the election. Those are not. That's like
Democrats have bombed the U.S. Capitol. Democrats have bombed it.
Courthouses and burned down police stations, and they had within them people who were insurrectionary.
And they got charged, and as they should have. They got charged.
Barely any of them got charged.
There are plenty of them that were charged. There are plenty that were charged.
Can I just say one thing? I'm going to say one thing. I'm going to take a break here.
Yeah, we're actually all going to be taking a short 5-minute break
here
in a moment. But Alex,
I'm just going to say this right now. Ladies and gentlemen, we saw billions of dollars of stuff burned down. We saw all the killings, and we never said all Democrats are involved in that.
What?
Biden gave a speech yesterday that was Hitlerian, in my view, literally saying everyone in D.C. was a terrorist. They're all bad. You can't vote for Trump. We're taking him off the ballot. America's going into martial law to stop him. Our republic is in danger. I got the transcript right here.
Yeah, what quote where he says that? Everyone in D.C. is a terrorist. That's a Biden direct quote. No, is that Hunter Biden or Joe Biden?
I know you love Hunter, but the point is that this was a hysterical diatribe. This is dangerous.
So, Alex, what if instead of the Capitol was the White House, and there's thousands of people at the White House fence, and they push through the fence? Do you think those people deserve more of a criminal penalty than people that were rioting in, I don't know, L.A.?
No, I mean, if it turns out they were under the directive of a foreign power
No, it was just a bunch of Americans.
Do they kill a cop? It's the crime they commit.
If a bunch of Americans, when Trump was in the White House, stormed the White House fences
guns,
with weapons, and made it past,
like Ashley Babbitt got shot?
No, made it past the fence.
The Trump supporter shot Ashley Babbitt. Okay,
made it past the fence, and they were at the doors of the White House. Do you think that they would act?
When Trump asked for the National Guard to stop that, Milley said no.
Trump didn't ask for the National Guard.
He didn't ask for the National Guard.
Milley's on record saying, I threatened to resign if Trump puts troops.
That wasn't January 6th. That was weeks before.
You just said about the White House.
Yeah, but nobody.
See, I'm giving you specifics.
Nobody was actually.
I'm giving you specifics.
Did anybody cross police barricades into the White House?
What I saw was the police, after a little bit of a fight, open the doors and wave people in, and a bunch of.
They didn't wave people in.
Oh my God! Everybody, get the footage.
There's one clip out of 40,000 hours.
There's hundreds.
There's no hundreds of clips of people waving people through the door. What I saw were people breaking the windows, climbing through broken windows, unlocking multiple doors, and letting other people in. Once in, police were forced to basically de-escalate the situation and make sure that the Congress people were protected. At that point, they were outnumbered 10-1, the Capitol Police to the rioters. At that point, those videos...
How much do I have to donate not to watch this? Okay, donate something and I'll see if that's enough. Okay? I would say $40. $40 and we will finish watching this. Or maybe 50? I don't know. Donate an amount that you think is appropriate and I will see if it's okay. Child aristocrat. What? Child aristocrat. But then I'll have okay. So give me a donation and let's see. And we'll skip to something else. We'll skip to theory. Oh, yeah. I'll do a President Sunday thing. Give me donations and we'll skip to theory. Am I gonna get a donation? Or do we continue?
Oh, Barry!
Oh my God! Thank you, fake Alec Al Parker. I guess we're finished with this. So are we skipping to theory now? Would you like some theory? I'm actually very tired. I'm thinking of finishing stream soon, but thank you very much for the donation of the $40. Okay, we're finished with this. So I'm gonna go to theory. Okay. The theory is about your favorite nation. John Ardagh, Germany, and the Germans. An Anatomy of Society Today. This is your theory for today. Are you happy? Are you happy that we've skipped to this theory? Maya Mayor, $5. Here's the money. Can I go now? Well, you should stay for some theory, no? Also, thank you very much. So are you ready? Germany and Germans, An Anatomy of Society Today. Are we doing this? You want it? Do you want it bad? Okay then. Here we go. This searching and incisive portrait of contemporary German society is invaluable reading for anyone who wants to know about today's Germany and today's Germans. Tourist, businessman, student, government official, member of the armed forces, John Ardagh presents a fascinating in-depth picture of this complex and often baffling people. How they live and work, their societal attitudes and opinions, and their success in building a viable democracy from the ruins of war and Nazism. He asks critical questions. Have the Germans really changed? Is Nazism still possible? How deep does their democracy go and will stick? Are Germans still plagued by their famous love of order and obedience of rules? And is this a strength or a weakness? He discusses major themes such as the search for national identity, the federal structure, and the clash of generations. And he reports on the main German cities: Munich, Stuttgart, Frankfurt, Bonn, Cologne, Düsseldorf, Hamburg, and Berlin. In a lighter vein, Ardak takes a wry look at many facets of social and cultural life, including the determined frivolity of the Cologne Carnival, the vogue for spackers, the non-use of Christian names, and the barbarities of the Bild Zeitung. The plight of the Turkish guest workers is explored, as well as writers and the new German cinema, and the conflict between the Germans' love for fast cars and their romantic passion for forests, dying allegedly from car exhaust. Essentially about West Germany, the book contains a long and vivid chapter on daily life under German-style communism in the other Germany and its relations with the West. Helped by his wife, who is German, Ardak portrays a people anxious yet dynamic, serious and soulful, but with a far livelier sense of humor than is often realized. A people still worried about their past, but open to the world and firmly rooted in the best European tradition. This book was published when? When was this book published? I'm not even sure. Whew. We are here. Excited? Are you excited for this introduction? I gotta know. Preface. Why a Francophile turns to Germany. We could. Okay, let's do that first. You don't want the introduction? Let me check. $23. The regional patchwork and ancient legacy. And it says here about Cologne, I think. Germany, it is often said, is very diverse. Not so much an integrated nation as a patchwork of different Länder and of local identities and loyalties. But this can be overstated. Germany's political history as a united country may be no more than 120 years old, but in terms of temperament and lifestyle, of culture and geography, I am not at all sure that the diversity is any greater than, say, in Britain, France, or Italy. Is a hamburger really any more different from a Bavarian than a Scot or Geordie from a Londoner? A Norman from a Provençal or a Torinese from Sicilian? It is simply that in Germany the differences tend to be more apparent or to have more expression because of political factors. The decentralized federal system of government and the lack of any single big capital city to provide a focus since 1945, Germany has been divided into two politically and ideologically between East and West. So this book takes place before the fall of the Berlin Wall. So we can take a historical dive into how these things were perceived when the division was still present of East Germany and West Germany. The older and truer division is between North and South. Within a very complicated framework, generalization is hazardous, but in a few sentences one could summarize by saying that South Germany is hilly and wooded, gentle and picturesque, close in spirit to Austria, and very much a part of Central Europe. A land of vineyards and half-timbered houses, baroque churches, and old castles on hilltops, while the north is a more austere territory of windy plains and harsh winters, turned towards Scandinavia and to Britain and the open sea. The people of the south, notably the Bavarians, also the Rhinelanders to the west, tend to be Catholic. They have a reputation for extrovert, jollity, and Gemütlichkeit. Gemütlichkeit. They drink beer heavily, also wine, and sing noisily in their taverns, swaying together arms linked. This is the Germany of the tourist browchers. In the north, the people are mostly Protestant, more stolid and reserved, but also possibly more reliable. And in the big cities, more liberal and sophisticated. Interesting. More liberal and sophisticated. Compare, for example, the difference in temperament between Bavaria's Franz Josef Strauss and Hamburg's Helmut Schmidt. Look more closely, however, and you see that these broad north versus south stereotypes can be misleading, for the true pattern is more complex. In the north, for instance, radical Bremen, with its open maritime spirit, is a world away from its hinterland in conservative Lower Saxony. And the two main peoples of the south, Bavarians and Swabians, long-time rivals from a clear contrast. Bavarians jovial and mostly Catholic, fun-loving, but with touches of brashness and even cruelty. Swabians more kindly and gentle, but slow and solemn, marked by puritanical Protestantism that is generally untypical of the South. Germany, in short, remains a patchwork where local patriotism and the sense of belonging are often focused on some quite small distinct area, such as the Hohenzollern in northern Württemberg, or the Emsland along the Dutch border, or the Hunsrück district east of Moselle, so lovingly detailed in Wright's aptly titled film Heimat. In many such areas, indeed, throughout Germany, local and regional dialects survive more actively in daily use than is usual in Europe today. In Bavaria, the dialect of the south is quite different from that of the north. Franconia, some cities, notably Berlin and Cologne, retain their own dialects, which a visitor from a village even 20 miles away may find hard to follow. And the Plattdeutsch of Frisia by the North Sea is more than just a dialect, but a distinct language with its own literature. Today, all German children in school are taught the official standard language, Hochdeutsch, and they can understand it on radio and television. But in many areas, even in cities, local people still use their dialect for daily speech. And in rural areas, they often understand it better than Hochdeutsch. Politicians need to take accounts of this. Strauss makes his official speeches in Hochdeutsch, but in a strong Bavarian accent of which he's proud. When he gets down among his rural electorate, he's careful and glad to talk to them in dialect. And Lothar Spath does likewise in Swabia. Okay, we're gonna stop here because I'm very tired. I hope you've enjoyed the series. Are you enjoying this? Is this a fun book? Do we want to do a reading of this on stream, or does that sound interesting to you to read on stream more, longer? Okay, that sounds nice. I'm very... because I'm still a bit ill. It is a nice book. John Arach, Germany and the Germans. So we're gonna read it. We're gonna do a reading of the book and we're gonna discuss. This is gonna be our theory meter book to read. But for now, I have to finish the stream because I'm so tired that I'm gonna fall. I'm gonna fall. So see you soon, okay? I'm gonna see you. You have love and solidarity. Oh my gosh. We love our non-binary siblings. We did a lot today. I'm gonna continue the stream tomorrow. I don't think, since Fake Alec Carl Parker paid $40, we're not gonna be continuing the debate. We're just gonna do something more interesting tomorrow. Maybe like the book reading as well. Bye-bye. We'll see you tomorrow. We'll be streaming tomorrow as well. Bye-bye-bye.